17 tonight. You still have people in the water at Waikiki. I got to say, though, weather officials, emergency officials have been on top of this, providing updates when possible, when available, as Hawaii responds to this event. Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Robbins is tracking the forecast and what we can see here. Jen, what can you tell us?
And we have been getting many alerts on the phone, and I know it could be alarming once you hear all of the noises coming from the phone, from the TV. But like we want to stress, just stay calm and be prepared and just move inland. As we take a closer look at tsunami energy, let's take a closer look at what we're expecting. Along the fault line, you can see all the action. The earth plates rub together, causing an underwater earthquake, and that's exactly what we see off the coast of Russia. The earthquake causes a vertical push of seawater to rise, and then as the waves spreads into shallower waters, it then grows in height. And history has showed that we have been seeing tsunami activity in past years, like Ben was talking about, a number of them. The first wave expected to arrive at 7:17, a little bit sooner over on Kauai, about 7:10 in Honolulu. Hilo in the past has seen about 0.3 meters. That's about a foot in rise, and also other harbors anywhere from 0.1 to 0.2 of a magnitude 8 earthquake. And magnitude between 8 and 9. In 1959, magnitude 8 from Russia generated anywhere from that 0.1 to 0.2, so that's about 4 to 8 inches. Some areas, though, like Hilo, saw lots of damage, and in the past, boat damage and also even houses. That houses were actually taken off of its foundation with this caliber. So if you're right at the coastline and you're not on stable grounds, that's a big concern. So you will want to move inland, of course, move and we're expected to see, in many cases, that the initial energy will come in anywhere from 0.1 to 0.3 meters. So anywhere from that 5 to 8 inches mark at 7 o'clock. But then it could jump up as the hour progresses to 8 o'clock to 1 to 2 meters. According to some of the preliminary data that we're seeing. But this is all just preliminary, so we should be prepared for the worst situation here. And it's very unpredictable how strong the currents could be. And unpredictable how strong the currents could be. In the past, we've seen this, that we haven't seen a lot of runoff and also maybe flooding at the coast, but we saw a lot of currents and also those strong currents that were a big concern. So starting at 7:10 tonight, Honolulu this evening, we will be seeing that. And like we were talking about, it started off as a watch, and we saw that tsunami watch, which was issued earlier today, a little after 1:30, just to give us notice to prepare to take action. But then it was upgraded quickly to a warning, and with all of that coming together, significant widespread inundation is imminent or expected now. This is where we fall under dangerous coastal flooding and currents, a possibility, especially if it comes in at 1 to 2 meters, which is a big concern for us, and especially if you're along the coastlines. If you're living in a boat or parked at harbors, this is the time to prepare and to move inland. Urgent action to protect life and property, including those evacuations. So just take your time. We do have some time until the 7 o'clock hour. Gather some of those belongings and then maybe contact some friends that you could stay with that is inland. We are going to be watching the times. Like Ben was talking about, in deep ocean, tsunami waves reach speeds about 500 plus miles per hour. That's a typo there. That's more like a jet liner. And then in shallow waters, it's about 30 miles per hour. So once it gets closer, it does slow down, but it piles up. So in the early evening hours in Alaska, we're talking about 4:46 to 5:46 Alaska time. That's when they're seeing arrival. And then along the west coast here, we're seeing that anywhere from 11:35 to midnight, and that's Pacific time there. And then we're already seeing that energy already in places like Japan. Back here at home, it's after 7 o'clock this evening. So talk with the family, talk about a plan, and don't rush right now. Just calmly get all your belongings together, especially if you're at those harbors or right at the beach. Mark?
Thank you very much, Jen. Very critical, very important information. We are approaching the top of the 4 o'clock hour right now. If you're just joining us, tsunami warning is in effect for the entire state of Hawaii following an 8.7 magnitude quake, which struck off the far eastern coast of Russia about 1:30 Hawaii time this afternoon. And a full-blown response is in effect right now at the city, state, and military levels here in Hawaii. The City Emergency Operations Center has been activated. We've already seen DLNR patrolling areas, low-lying coastal areas. We saw the shots at Waikiki Beach, urging beachgoers to leave the area. First wave is expected at 7:17. We're already seeing reports of a tsunami hitting parts of Russia and Japan. If we do see effects here, that would be the first time Hawaii has seen a tsunami since 2011 following an earthquake off Japan. A big tsunami,
yeah. Because we have had some tsunamis before. There was one off Chile a little bit later, a little after 2011. This one wasn't big, but it did cause some currents. But it technically is still a tsunami.
Stephanie Lum covered the 2011 tsunami and the effects here in Hawaii, and she has more. What can you tell us, Steph?
Yeah, Mark and Ben, I've been listening to the coverage, and like you folks have been saying, now is not the time to panic, but it is the time to be prepared and to heed the warnings and do what is necessary to get out safely with you and your family. After all, as you mentioned, Hawaii was under a tsunami warning back in 2011 after that major earthquake in Japan, and the waves that were generated and were sent over to Hawaii from that earthquake in 2011 ended up causing tens of millions of dollars in damage. Hawaii was under a tsunami warning back in March 11th, 2011. A magnitude 9.1 earthquake hit Tohoku, Japan. Waves disabled nuclear reactors, washed over and destroyed entire towns. More than 18,000 people died. The deadly earthquake was the largest magnitude ever recorded in Japan and the third largest in the world since 1900. The waves, over 200 of them from that tsunami, caused damage here in Hawaii. $7.5 million worth of damage across the state. Those waves of varying heights reached our shores early at 3 in the morning. Many businesses and roads were flooded and washed out. Haleiwa Harbor saw damage. Haleiwa Harbor saw damage to the dock and boats that were not able to sail out in time. It was the same scene at La Mariana Harbor near Sand Island. Big Island's Kona coast sustained substantial damage, where the Kona Village Resort is located, as well as low-lying areas on Maui. And in the end, of course, tens of millions of dollars in damage after that major earthquake and tsunami from Japan back in 2011. And officials are hoping that everybody once again heeds the warning. There were no casualties in Hawaii after that. And so they are saying, please listen to the lifeguards when they tell you to clear the beaches. Don't be anywhere near the coastlines. And the Department of Transportation actually just sent out a tweet over on Kauai with those waves estimated to arrive at around 7:10. They are asking everybody to please not drive into Hanalei to try and help the evacuees. You'll only end up clogging those crucial roadways for emergency responders, and you might even end up preventing people from leaving and moving inland. Mark and Ben, back to you.
Thank you very much, Steph. Excellent coverage. Yeah, this is a very complex situation. And what we saw from Stephanie's story is what you were alluding to, is that the nature of a tsunami type wave and the fact that, you know, if some may see that it's coming from the northern Pacific, some of you saying, okay, well, if I'm on the South Shore, it's not going to affect. But what we saw in that 2011 event was the island wrap. Yeah. And an effect statewide.
Yeah, two things to remember from this. Remember Ke'ehi Lagoon, La Mariana Harbor, I covered that. Several boats were damaged. This came in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so that energy, even though it's on the South Shore, still reached the South Shore from Japan, which is basically on the opposite side of the island. And so you've got that energy moving through. Second thing to remember, that particular earthquake, the Japan earthquake of 2011, was huge, was massive, was extremely strong. Basically, a quick note about magnitudes. The one that we're looking at is an 8.7. The one that in 2011 was 9.1. They're almost the same. Maybe about, I would say, well, I'll put it this way. Every time you go up a number, it's not just incremental, right. It's exponential. And so basically the amount of energy in an 8 is 30 times the energy of a 7. 7 is 30 times the energy of a 6, and so on and so forth. So when you're talking about a magnitude 8 and a magnitude 9, 8 is strong. Last week we had the 7.2, or a couple of days ago, from Kamchatka, Russia. And so this is something that's 30, maybe a 45 times stronger than the one that we saw last week. And so this is definitely something that bears watching. We've also seen some buoy data reports where we've seen anywhere from a foot to maybe 3 feet out in the open ocean. And so there is something going on out there that bears watching. There's no buoys out in the middle of the ocean. They're just along the shorelines. And so we just know something was generated. We've got estimates, possibly 1 to 3 meters. That's 3 to 9 feet. But again, that's preliminary. But again, don't panic. You've got time. Just calmly go through what you need to do and where you need to go. If you are not in an evacuation zone, stay where you are. You're going to be safe. You will be fine. Do not head to the ocean. Do not try to help. Do not get in the way of emergency responders or people who are trying to leave. Do not be a looky-loo. Do not be, don't go and just say, oh, I'm going to get a great Instagram post of this tsunami. No, don't do that. There are, there's a possibility of damage. There's that potential. And so what you need to do is not get in the way of people who are trying to leave or trying to actually, our first responders who are trying to help people who are trying to leave.
And throughout that entire time, we should reinforce Hawaii News Now will stay with you the entire time. We have wall-to-wall coverage, comprehensive team coverage with our first alert weather team, keeping track of the latest updates. We're also mapping out the response. as residents map out their evacuation and disaster plans. Earlier, we heard from Lynn Kawano at the City Emergency Operations Center. We have our very own Dylan Ancheta standing by on Maui, giving a look at what is happening on the Valley Isle. Take it away, Dylan.
Hey, aloha. First off, I apologize if my audio cuts in and out. We are on a very remote setup here, but I can tell you that I am in the Kahului area right outside of the University of Hawaii Maui College. In fact, the Queen Ka'ahumanu Center is just behind me. And right now, coming into this area, this is a tsunami evacuation zone. There is still a long line of cars all the way in, and this traffic is not moving very fast. So I have heard sirens. The first sirens that I heard was actually around 3:20 this afternoon, and we know that that siren was cued. We know that that siren was cued for the coastal areas, the people in those areas that really should heed the warnings and evacuate now. But again, people are still going into this low-lying area, which is concerning because we would like people to evacuate out from this area. And just this way, I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera around. There is an emergency siren right behind these telephone poles, and so we are expecting to hear them go off in about 2 or 3 minutes because, again, as we know, the emergency officials are sounding the sirens at 4:10, 5:10, and 6:10 to allow people to get the notification that they should be evacuating these areas. So this is the traffic going out of this area, but you can still see the long line of cars all the way through. People are still making their way into this Kahului area. At this point, we are still trying to get in touch with the Maui County officials. I just got here to this area not too long ago, so we are going to continue to gather more details as to where the evacuation points for Maui residents are, and we will bring that to you on air and online. But for now, that is pretty much all I have, guys. We'll send things back to you.
Of course, we still have a lot of other things going on. We did get some pictures from Ko'olina. There were a lot of people who were leaving Ko'olina out on the leeward coast. I will assume that those are folks who are either in the low-lying townhouses or folks who were at the beach. But if you were in some of the taller buildings, Aulani and so on, those buildings, you are safe to stay there. Just go on the 4th floor or higher so you don't cause a big traffic jam, and that will also add to any congestion that's going on Farrington Highway as well. And so, again, if you're in a high-rise, and this is not just for Ko'olina, Waikiki, Kaanapali, etc., go to a higher floor. You will be safe there.
Yeah, we're seeing the images emerge right now. Let's take you to a live look at Hokkaido, Japan right now. This is from a aerial helicopter shot as reports emerged several minutes ago that the first effects of this tsunami are already being felt on the global stage. Tsunami seen in Russia's Kuril Islands and in Hokkaido, Japan right now. Again, this is a live look from a helicopter shot. You see the response that you want to be looking for, right? Those heading for high ground. So this is, and at this time, no details have emerged in terms of damage. Right now is 4:10 p.m. You may be hearing some of the audio from the emergency alerts right now.
Yep. My
Coming through
going off
on
right
our
now,
phone.
too.
You'll be getting this on your phone as sirens go off around the state right now. Sirens will be going off at 4:10, 5:10, and 6:10 p.m. As we're bracing and anticipating for what the effect is going to be from this tsunami warning after in I'm told the latest update from the National Weather Service is that it was an 8.0 quake, upgraded to an 8.7 about 20 minutes later.
Yeah,
and about
USGS now has it at an 8.8. marginal, but still, a pretty good increase. And again, it gets it closer to the 9.1 that the Japan earthquake was. Very briefly about Japan and the live pictures that we saw in Hokkaido Prefecture, and that is that Japan has a very robust tsunami warning system. They've got sirens, they've got announcements, and people there know what to do, but especially after 2011. It's 14 years, yes, but I'm sure it's seared into the memory of a lot of people seeing the destruction that the tsunamis caused back in 2011 from the Fukushima earthquake.
Yeah, and that was a rapid response because if the earthquake happened at 1:30 Hawaii time, it's 4 o'clock our time right now, and so you're already seeing that the first tsunamis are hitting parts of Russia and Hokkaido in Japan. We are staying on top of this. Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Robbins is standing by with any new information that is coming into the newsroom. Jen.
And just to review the tsunami warning, so all of the islands under effect with that warning, with the first wave arriving just after 7 o'clock today. And just to break it down, it seems like last week we did have that routine with the tsunami watch. It was kind of a little bit of a precursor of what to expect for this week. And you could actually see watch versus advisory versus warning. Let's break it down for you. This was issued as a watch initially when the actual magnitude 8.7 earthquake happened. You see issued first when the earthquake occurred to generate a potential tsunami. It gives you fair warning that it could be upgraded to a tsunami advisory or a tsunami warning or be canceled. And it was canceled last week, as you remember. As far as tsunami advisory, upgraded from a watch if potential tsunami could cause strong currents or dangerous waves. Widespread inundation is not expected. But then on the other hand, this is where we are right now, a tsunami warning. Significant widespread inundation is imminent or expected. Dangerous coastal flooding and currents expected with all of the numbers coming in with the magnitude, the depth of this earthquake, and already seeing signs of waves that are already occurring, of course, in Russia and all the way in Japan. Dangerous coastal flooding and currents will likely be arriving after 7 o'clock today. Urgent action to protect life and property, including evacuations. So closest to the epicenter, that's where you see the biggest of the tsunami waves. We're already getting reports off of Russia, 3 to 4 meters. Where does that fall? About 9 to 13 feet. And that's exactly what they saw within the last couple of hours. A lot of action there on top of the already earthquake that they face. And then NHK is reporting the first tsunami wave, pretty small in Japan at 30 centimeters. That's just over a foot, but that could easily grow as more energy pushes their way. So something we're watching very carefully in hours ahead. Like we were talking about in deep oceans, you can see how far the epicenter is from Hawaii itself. It travels pretty quickly because of the speed that it's going over open waters. In deep ocean, speeds can reach up to 500 miles per hour. That's comparable to a jet plane. So if you went recently flying to the mainland and you calculate how fast it gets from point A to point B, that's kind of the same idea behind these tsunami wave arrivals. So arrival times early evening for Alaska, anywhere from 4:46 to 5:46 p.m. Alaska time. As far as along the west coast, early to late evening from 11:35 to midnight Pacific time. We're expecting that. Here at home, like we've been talking about, arriving just after 7 o'clock with Honolulu seeing the first of the impacts. So we're expecting all of that energy to push our way. Once it reaches shallow waters, it slows down. There's a lot of friction there. We have, of course, the outer reefs that has to face, and that slows down to 30 miles per hour. And then it's very unpredictable what kind of energy we'll get when it comes to the strong currents. We'll have very strong rip currents, and that's why it's important not to be in the waters, even if it's not expected to be big waves. But initial heights may be falling between 0.1 to 0.3. This is all initial and preliminary, and then potentially they're saying now up to 1 to 2 meters coming our way, and that will be arriving probably after 8 o'clock. So a lot of elements, a lot of moving parts, and it's a very dynamic situation. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Jen. Yes, very dynamic indeed, but not a time to panic. There is lead time with an event like this. We are right now, it's 4:15, so about 3 hours out from the first anticipated wave arriving, the first anticipated effects here in the island chain. We've already seen footage of tsunami, the after effects in the Hokkaido prefecture in Japan, which is the first place it has impacted. We have crews across the state. Let's head over to Lynn Kawano, who is standing by live at Honolulu's Emergency Operations Center. What can you tell us, Lynn?
Mark, we are upstairs of the EOC at the Frank Fossey building. You know, city and county and state workers were all released about 3 o'clock today. That's so that they can go home, get their families prepared, get themselves prepared, and stay safe. But as a result, we saw hundreds of people leaving at one time. And of course, we now have traffic jams because of that. Always at about 4:15, we're going to have traffic jams. But when you have something like this, people trying to get out a little bit earlier, it's going to be even worse. You know, not a whole lot worse than what we normally see at about 4:15, but we do know that a lot of people took that time and left about 3 o'clock. The sirens just went off at 4:10 on time here in downtown. We anticipated 4:10. We were told 5:10 and 6:10 as well, but we did get a surprise siren about 3:24 today as well. That is just to alert people. While no one is panicking here in downtown, we are seeing people in a hurry trying to get home, trying to pick up their kids, trying to pick up their families as well. And, you know, as we saw people coming in, we stopped the mayor and talked to him. He said they were just getting activated, meaning they were just getting all the first responders here at the EOC downstairs. We did also get a chance to talk to Dr. Jim Ireland of the Emergency Services Department. Here's what he had to say is going on right now with his crews around the island.
Activate generators, bring in personnel. We also move ambulances that are in coastal areas, and they relocate to other areas that are not in the inundation zone. We have staffing for our ambulance bus and other larger vehicles in the event that we need to use those for medical evacuation, whether it's from hospitals or clinics or people who otherwise can't get out on their own. This is evolving.
Yeah, evolving is the word to describe it. We also saw HFD and some other first responders heading down to the EOC where they will have some briefings. Now, we have been told by the city and county of Honolulu, by the mayor's office, that we will get frequent briefings after they get settled and get themselves organized. So we hope to have that in the next 30 minutes or so. Back to you guys on set.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Lynn. Lynn Kawano standing by at the Emergency Operations Center at the Frank Fossey building. You saw what she was describing, right? Employees had the all clear to take off, but what ensued after that were the traffic jams throughout Honolulu, different parts of the city, you know, as people are heading over to their evacuation areas. We do have some information.
Yeah, the County of Hawaii has just told us we've been talking a lot about Oahu, but this is a statewide event, and so there are some counties or some areas that have opened shelters. So for Hawaii Island, County of Hawaii, emergency shelters are being opened at the following locations. So Pu'ueo Community Center, Panaewa Park, Kea'au Armory, Pahoa Neighborhood Facility, definitely for Lower Puna, Ka'u District Gym, Na'alehu Community Center, Yano Hall, Kealakehe High School Gym, Waimea Community Center, Hisaoka Gym, and Honoka'a Gym. And so we just got this information in.
Yep.
If you missed the list, you can probably check in with Hawaii County Civil Defense, but we'll try to get that information online and also have a screen ready for you so you can take a look. Again, that's for the County of Hawaii. Oh, we also have a list on Kauai.
Yeah, Kauai as well. So that was Hawaii County. Kauai areas that are open for evacuation shelters are Kapa'a High School, Kapa'a Middle School, Ele'ele Elementary School, Koloa Library, Kauai Community College, Kala'a Hill Neighborhood Center, Kilauea Elementary School. Those refuge areas will have parking, restroom facilities available, and if you are bringing a pet, you are advised to please bring a kennel food, and water. So we're seeing this statewide response right now as evacuation sites open in different areas. The counties have their respective plans. You also have the state keeping close tabs on it. We'll be hearing from the governor sometime this evening as state leaders get ready for this. Our very own Mahealani Richardson spoke with Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda and has an update on that. What can you tell us, Mahale?
Well, Mark and Ben, I'm so glad you talked about those emergency shelters being open, because as that list was just being released, I was on the phone with Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda, and he said all of the leaders of Hawaii Island are in that emergency operations center on Hawaii Island. They have gathered. They're making sure that people stay safe and are prepared. Here's what he had to say on the phone just a few minutes ago.
Sure. Right now we're at the EOC, all hands on deck. Every department is here, fire, police, public works. We've got state folks here as well, national parks, and we're just getting prepared. So informing the public through our messaging system, social media, and thank you for allowing us to be using your medium as well. So we're ready.
Governor Green has released state workers from their jobs this afternoon. What about county workers for Hawaii Island?
Same here. We already sent a memo out releasing all of our government workers, county workers. In addition, we also ask our county workers to take any valuables, computers, cash, anything that is of value, because we have our facilities in the evacuation area. So we have to be cognizant of that as well.
And obviously, Hawaii Island, very large swaths of area, especially for evacuation zones along the coastline. Can you tell us how the hotels are doing, especially on the Kona side and, of course, in Hilo as well?
Yes, we are in correspondence with the hotels. They are aware that they could use any one of our shelters island-wide, and we've been offering bus service as well to our hotel folks if they need transportation in getting to higher ground.
Are you hearing of any problems with traffic or people evacuating at this time?
Yes, there is significant traffic congestion, and so we just put out a message through our radio waves letting people know, to be patient. We have time. That's what this warning is about. It gives us time to evacuate in a safe and respectful manner, and that's our messaging going out.
Mayor, what about your grocery stores, KTA and other large grocery stores? Are people going there right now to get supplies? What's the outlook there?
Yeah, I haven't got information on that, but I suspect they are going out. We want to remind our residents to, don't panic. We will be okay, but we'll get through this. This is a warning. It could be, definitely could be a tsunami, and so that's why we have to really be ready for it. But we don't want people, jamming our supermarkets and such. It could cause, especially if those supermarkets are in the danger zone.
Mayor, what about for people specifically in Hilo, those long-timers who may recall the last tsunami? What are they saying today?
Well, a lot of them still have trauma. Hilo's a place where we've had many, very strong experiences of the tsunamis that came by. I mean, in my own family, my father, he talks about 2 tsunamis in his lifetime. So, we are taking this very seriously. There is a huge earthquake. It reminds us of the past, and so that's why we are all hands on deck, and this might be the one.
Mayor, we really appreciate your time. Is there anything else that you would like Hawaii viewers to know about what Hawaii County is doing?
Yeah, thank you. I want all Hawaii residents to know that we're doing I'm here at the EOC, and I'm watching our team, collaborate, and I'm talking across jurisdictions. Right now it doesn't matter. Everybody is working really well together. We're communicating. I'm so proud of the Big Island. We've been through this before. We're an island of resilience, and we are getting ready, and we're getting prepared.
And that was Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda on the phone just a few minutes ago. Those destructive tsunamis that especially hit Hilo were in 1946, 1960, and 1975. So those longtime residents definitely remember. And that's why the mayor says that they are preparing in the emergency evacuation center, and also that they are preparing those emergency shelters, making sure that tourists in the hotel districts have buses just in case they need it. Also, Ben and Mark, I wanted to let you know that I just got off the phone with Alaska and Hawaiian Airlines. I asked them if any cancellations of flights at this point. They said there are no cancellations of flights, at least for Alaska and Hawaiian, but they will let us know. I also called Maui's airport duty manager. No closures at this point, but we're continuing to monitor that situation. That's the latest from here. I'm Mahea Lenny Richardson. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mahea. A very comprehensive response, as we just heard from Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda. These updates from state agencies are coming in throughout the afternoon into the evening. We just got this from the Department of Transportation. And forgive me, I'm going to just be reading these off here.
Yeah.
But DOT is saying they've released details for each island. So for Kauai, avoid Hanalei to allow people to evacuate. They are not closing Wailua Bridge. For Oahu, Likelike townbound has been opened. Kolekole Pass has been opened to leave the leeward coast. Nanakuli contraflow has been shut down. And on Maui, state highways is staging vehicles and equipment. What else can you tell us, Ben?
Yeah, on Molokai, Ikalaupapa Airport and personnel are ready to evacuate to the lighthouse, which is at higher elevations there because it's obviously right next to the ocean there in a very vulnerable area. On Hawaii Island, Hilo Airport, commercial operations have been suspended to facilitate evacuations from Keaukaha because it's right next to the ocean, among other things, but then also Keaukaha. That neighborhood still has to be able to leave and get past the airports. Once again, commercial operations at Hilo Airport have been suspended. And for all islands, the Coast Guard captain of the port has ordered all vessels to follow their procedures to leave port. Again, Coast Guard captain of the port ordering all vessels to follow their procedures to leave port. Reason is you are a lot safer out on the open ocean because the tsunami will be very small. It's just going to be, a little bit of energy, but you do not want to have your vessel caught up on the coastline when all that tsunami energy
slamming against the harbors.
Yeah, because it could. I remember in 2011 seeing Ke'ehi Lagoon and the La Mariana Harbor, and a lot of boats had been capsized. Many of them had sunk. A lot of them had been bashed against the harbors and against the piers. And so if you are or know somebody who has a vessel, basically the Coast Guard is saying at this point, follow the procedures to start bringing your vessel to the open ocean. And so just get that prepared. You've got some time to do so, but make sure if you want to do that or need to do that, start getting it done.
So we are seeing these updates continue to come in from government, city, state, and county leaders mapping out this response right now. Anticipated first wave time for any sort of impact to the Hawaiian Islands is 7:15, around 7:17 tonight. We've already seen footage of the response in Hokkaido in Japan after the tsunami hit areas of Japan and also parts of Russia. The first effects following this 8.7 magnitude quake. Drew Davis has a closer look at the quake itself and the ensuing tsunami that has been generated. Drew.
Mark, Ben, of course, we've been talking a lot about the potential for the entire column of water to be moving across the Pacific Ocean. I want to talk about what's causing this compared to where we actually had the tsunami watch about a week ago. Last week's earthquake, the fault movement, was called a strike slip. It's where both of the tectonic plates near Russia were moving parallel and away from each other, causing the earthquake that we saw, but it wasn't enough to displace all of the water and create a large tsunami. However, what's possible possible with this earthquake, this may be a major thrust movement, obviously moving up a tectonic plate, displacing all of that water, and that's very, very common over the plate interface that's right near Russia. Last week's earthquake, where we had the tsunami watch, was actually atypical. It was a strike slip, and now we don't have confirmation just yet, but this is potential that it was a major thrust earthquake. Of course, let's take a look at the details out there. We've got a magnitude 8.8. Giving you a recap, we had an 8.0 magnitude earthquake issued around 1:30 p.m. this afternoon. That was upgraded around 20 minutes later to an 8.7. It has now been upgraded again to an 8.8, nearly a 9 on the Richter scale. Very, very strong. We've got a tsunami warning across the entirety of the island chain. Every area that you see right here in red is under that tsunami warning. Now is the time to take action. Again, move away from the coastal areas. If you're in a building, move at least 4 or 5 stories up to get as far away from sea level as possible. And of course, make sure that you're making preparations now. The earliest potential arrival of the tsunami over in Hanalei was predicted to be 7:10 and potentially 7:17 for other parts of the state. A closer look again at the tsunami energy. We have this fault line. Earth's plates are rubbing together, creating that underwater earthquake. And again, it's displacing this vertical push of seawater, and that's what moves closer to the shore, and it gets taller. That column of air here, a column of water here, gets pushed up, and that's what makes these waves so tall. It spreads into shallower waters, and it grows in height. That's why it's so damaging. Again, like we've been mentioning, it's possible that this tsunami, when it arrives around 7 p.m., could be arriving around high tide for some of the states. So around 7 p.m., we could be seeing 0.1 to 0.3 meters, potentially even up to 1 to 2 meters around 8 p.m. This is tsunami surges of energy. Again, this is unpredictable, strong currents. We're watching this very, very closely to see how this evolves. This is the time to take action. This is the time to be prepared right now. Just a deeper look at the magnitudes out there. Again, this is an 8.8. We typically see an 8 around once per year. So we see a large earthquake like this around once per year. A 9 once every 10 years. So this could be close to that, 1 every 10 years. And of course, we are under a tsunami warning. Now is the time to take action. That was a closer look at what's going on. Let's send it back to Mark and Ben.
All right, thanks very much, Drew. Of course, we have had some areas that are starting to back up. We're having reports of Alameda Boulevard backing up over from Waikiki as people try to leave. But once again, you should do what your hotel does if you are visiting. You do not have to leave the hotel if you're in a high-rise. If you are, go up to the 4th or higher floor. It's what is called a vertical evacuation. And so don't tie up traffic that way if you don't need to leave, especially if you're a visitor and you're in a high rise. You should be safe on the 4th floor above, but do not go to the beach because the Department of Land and Natural Resources has had officers that we've seen earlier this afternoon trying to get people away from the water. Yes, it's a couple of hours beforehand, but they don't want to take any chances as far as anyone not having heard of the alert or something like that. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes people will not be getting the alerts on their phones like we had at 4:10. So
it's happened several times already where the alerts have gone off on our phones on air. The first official siren came down at 4:10. There will be another one at 5:10, at 6:10. Once again, all leading up to the anticipated first arrival of the effects from this 8.7 magnitude quake. We are getting videos sent into our newsroom from across the state. We want to play something and give you a look at what the scene on Maui when the sirens came down. Again, this is not a live siren. This is when the siren occurred earlier this afternoon.
Of course, people in Kahului now are starting to leave because Kahului is in a low-lying area. There are several areas that are definitely at risk of a tsunami. That looks like that's around Maui High School, maybe. That looks like that area, one of the places that were evacuation areas. We haven't had a list yet, or we haven't gotten a hold of the list yet for any refuge areas or any shelters for Maui County as of yet. I'm pretty sure there's one out. We just haven't had it. Here's more from Maui, but this is Oahu actually.
Yeah, so that was the moment the tsunami warning sirens went off on Oahu.
That's the Kalihi YMCA on the right, so that's going up Likelike Highway.
Up Likelike. Horrible traffic around Oahu right now, as many are leaving for evacuation sites. It officially became a tsunami warning about 10 minutes before 3 o'clock this afternoon, after which we saw traffic jams throughout different areas of the city. This is in a Cook Street parking structure. You know, you can imagine private businesses told their employees to head home. State and city workers were told to go home. So everyone hitting the roads all at one time. You can also expect to have plenty of lines at grocery stores, gas stations as well. What we see in these types of events, that is a look right now at the alert that came down. You know, that applies to Hanalei, but we all got some sort of version of this in expectation of the 710 wave.
Yeah, once again, this is a statewide event, and do not be alarmed. Well, don't panic is our basic message. Again, 4:35 right now. You've got about 2.5 hours, if I'm doing the math correctly, to take action and do what you need to do. Here's a list of the Kauai emergency shelters once again: Kapa'a High School, Kapa'a Middle School, Ele Elementary, also Kauai Community College. We also have the Kalaheo Neighborhood Center and Kilauea Elementary School that are open, and Koloa Library is also open. Again, that's a list of the emergency shelters. On Hawaii Island, we've got Pu'uheo Community Center, Panaewa Park, Kea'au Armory, as well as Pahoa Neighborhood Facility, Ka'u District Gym, Yano Hall, and then a little bit farther south in Ka'u, Na'alehu Community Center, the Kealakehe High School Gym, the Waimea Community Center in the upper elevations for those who need it, and also Hisoka Gym that's located, and the Honoka'a Gym. Those are the Hawaii Island emergency shelters.
Yeah, we're compiling different lists of the shelters at you know, each of the different counties. If you didn't hear moments ago, we just got this update that the U.S. Army and U.S. Navy have opened Kolekole Pass from Lualei Naval Road to Lyman Road. This route is now accessible for emergency use and may be used by residents as an alternate evacuation path. Motorists are advised to use extreme caution and follow all posted signs and instructions from military and emergency personnel. The pass will remain open until the all clear is given by Emergency Management Authority. So Ben, Kolekole Pass being opened and being used for what it's designed for, in events of a disaster and an emergency situation, providing accessible relief for Leeward Coast residents.
Yeah, there's always been this concern as to what would happen in an emergency, a hurricane, a tsunami, an earthquake, for areas like, for example, hate to say it, but Lahaina, one way in and out. You know, that's very accessible. Also, obviously, the Waianae Coast. There's like 16% of roadways around Hawaii which are just one way in and out of a particular area. So we understand what's going on in Waianae, the Waianae Coast. If you are in an area where you can go into higher elevations, because you do have the valleys, you do have some areas where you can go a bit further inland and be out of a tsunami evacuation zone. But if well, worst comes to worst and you really need to get out for whatever reason, or you've got relatives who are outside of the evacuation area or outside of the Waianae coastline, we understand what you're going through. Be patient. But again, Kolekole Pass has been opened by the military for your use to evacuate and will remain open until an all clear is sounded. And that obviously hasn't happened yet. We're still under a tsunami warning.
What we're seeing right now is the transportation response to all of this, right? Because you have so much time before the first anticipated arrival, these are the types of updates you're seeing. So Kolekole Pass is open back up. We just got this notification that the Hilo Airport is closed as of 3:30 p.m. No commercial flights in or out. So once again, the Hilo Airport has been closed, is anticipating, you know, what we're going to be seeing from this wave. And then also, we saw that shot earlier from Waikiki. Those still on the beach, here's an update in regard to Waikiki. International Marketplace will be closed for the remainder of the day out of an abundance of caution for the safety of tenants, employees, and guests. That isn't, you know, because people would be going to shop at this moment, but we're saying that as an indication of what's going to be happening in the surrounding area. That's going to be one of many businesses closing its doors for the day if they haven't already.
Yeah, I think it'll be plenty obvious for a lot of people that, trying to leave or get around, or, thinking, why is the store closed? But again, it's because we are under a tsunami warning once again. Again, international marketplace is closed. We also have a lot of areas where the traffic is backed up.
Yeah, we're getting video of traffic sent into our newsroom from all across Oahu right now. This is heading out to the Kaneohe area. So if you are in this, you're listening to the audio on your phone, listening to our newscast. Thank you for joining us. But you are not alone in the traffic right now. We are seeing traffic heading out to the windward coast, heading out to the leeward coast. The opening of Kolekole Pass should alleviate that. There's traffic around town on the freeway as people are heading out to their evacuation sites or stocking up on supplies.
Also, we've been hearing from the Coast Guard about vessels at sea. Obviously, we are an island state and surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, and the tsunami will be coming in. The Coast Guard has been telling vessel owners to get their vessels out to sea and follow those procedures. We have some video of one of those boaters preparing at the Alawai Small Boat Harbor.
I'm just gonna get prepared in case I have to hitch it and take it into higher ground. I'm just gonna untie it, get everything ready, hooked up. So all I gotta do is hitch up and throw it away.
What do your other buddies out here have to do?
They gotta go out. They have to, unless they're gonna ride the storm, they're gonna have to go out past the swell.
With a tsunami, that's pretty safe.
Yeah, if you're on the other side of the swell, but it looks like the swell is gonna be coming from the north. So it'll wrap around the island like this. So they'll probably have to go out this way.
So once again, the Coast Guard telling people to get their vessels out to ocean, or if they are on land, to definitely get those vessels away. This is a shot of people in line to get gas at Ewa Beach right now. And so there are a lot of people trying to prepare, get some last minute gas in case there are electrical outages, but just basically to top off at this point. So again, use some patience here because there's a lot of traffic, a lot of people trying to get their preparations done because of the tsunami warning, and also to be getting out of areas like Ewa Beach to try to, basically be out of an evacuation area.
And we continue to receive these images. Here is a aerial view from Ala Moana, overlooking Ala Moana and Atkinson. You can see just the traffic all along Ala Moana Boulevard, which is to be expected. This is something that turned into a warning just before 3 this afternoon, moments before an expected rush hour. Right, Ben? So you have all these people on the roads right now. DLNR is going throughout the coastlines, clearing people out, telling people to leave the area. You have many employees who are in the downtown business district or throughout Honolulu heading to the roads right now. So a high view. Traffic is just horrible right now. Please be patient, but this is a matter of not panicking, but be prepared. There is time. So 7:10 is the expected arrival of the first wave following an 8.8 quake in the far east region of Russia. And this is also what you see typically in these types of moments, right, Ben?
A lot of people getting their water over at Costco. At last check, I don't know, there might still be some, but people are getting their supplies. This is not like a hurricane, but at the same time, there is still the possibility that maybe infrastructure could be affected because some of the coastlines have some of the electrical places. Hiko has the Kahe power plant. Maybe it won't be affected, but it is a major power producer on the island of Oahu. Also Pearl City, that power plant there too, pretty close to the water. And so there are indications, well, no, I won't say indications, it's just that there is the possibility, but people but trying to be prepared, getting their water at Costco earlier this afternoon.
Everyone's getting prepared. City officials are getting prepared. We have a shot from inside the city's emergency operations center right now. You see Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi in front as the city's emergency officials have gathered, just waiting to see what will be unfolding, monitoring any updates that may be coming in. Right now, this is a statewide event All of Hawaii is under a tsunami warning right now, with the first wave expected to arrive at 7:10. Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Robbins is tracking those updates and has information for us. Hey, Jen.
Mark and Ben, all very good information that you have been sharing. We have been seeing some of those updates coming our way, and I have to say that this, which is great news to see that the city and the county has been prepared, and it looks like everyone is preparing well. Just a reminder, tsunami warning is in place due to this large earthquake that occurred in Russia at 8.8 magnitude, the depth at 19.3 kilometers. And with this caliber, that's why you could see the waves travel so far, as fast as a jumbo jet. We're talking about 500 plus miles per hour traveling over open waters with those tsunami waves. Tsunami warning is up, and it's going to be up throughout the next several hours. First wave expected after 7 o'clock. The closest to the epicenter is where the biggest tsunami waves have been reported. Of course, just off the coast of Russia here. We're talking about 3 to 4 meters, 9 to 13 feet has already been reported. And the NHK reported the first tsunami wave at 30 centimeters. So not very large in Japan quite yet, but they're expected it to be quite large into the next couple of hours. This is how it's going to break down. The tsunami readings already coming over Russia and Japan. Hawaii expecting to forecast anywhere between 1 to 3. That's where it's going to fall under, at 3 to 10 feet expected. So expected after 7 o'clock. Guam expected the same kind of forecast at 1 to 3 meters, and that's 3 to 10 feet as well. None confirmed yet there. History has shown this magnitude with the depth in between 8 and 9 in 1959, magnitude 8 from Russia. It generated anywhere from 0.1 to 0.2 meters. That was just under a foot, expected under about 0.3 in this situation. Hilo saw the most damage in past tsunamis, and with all the boats and also the caliber of this, it could create even some foundation concerns for some of the houses that are very close to the shoreline or even right at the harbor there, all those boats that are parked there. So this is the time to prepare. This is going to coincide with the strong currents, rip currents coming our way, very unpredictable, as you know, and possibly some coastal flooding coming our way, coinciding with the high tide. So the high tide is peaking at 7:03, expecting the first wave to come our way at about 7:10, and it is coming in at 1.52 with that high tide. So on top of that, we're getting that tsunami energy coming our way. So for the first wave of energy, expected it to fall maybe at 0.1 to 0.3, and potentially could get up to 1 to 2 meters. It highly depends on how fast it travels over open waters, and unpredictable with those strong currents like we're talking about. So a lot of moving parts, a lot happening, and we're getting closer to that 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock hour. So definitely prepare calmly, but I have to say, guys, it's amazing to see the city, county, and all the residents come together in a fashion that has been fairly calm despite the chaotic news of the tsunami coming our way.
Thanks very much, Jen. We are, of course, trying to cut through the chaos and give you some calm,
Precisely.
cool, and collected information. So once again, this is not a time to panic, but it is a time to take action. A lot of people, unfortunately, are taking action all at once. It's not their fault, but it's because the tsunami warning came down and then everybody started leaving at once. Case in point, Ala Center, of course, the stores started closing there, and we did see a big traffic backup coming out of the parking lot. I think we've got a little bit of video of that. You can see traffic
this is
at a standstill.
This is happening in parking structures all throughout the city right now and all throughout the state, as everyone was leaving at the same time once the warnings came down. We are also receiving some new information on kind of the effects of this tsunami in other parts of the world. We had mentioned that a tsunami has already been seen in parts of Russia near the quake's epicenter. Japan was also under a tsunami warning, and Hokkaido is seeing the effects. Information is emerging from Hokkaido. The Japan Meteorological Agency said a tsunami measuring 1.3 feet was detected in Tokachi on the southern coast of Hokkaido, the northernmost of the country's main islands. And so early readings are coming in, Ben.
Yeah, it's a foot, and 1.3 feet may not sound like much, but once again, we will still have to be on the lookout for strong currents, because once again, this is not just the ocean surface, this is the entire water column that's being affected. And so we're going to at least see currents. We also have traffic, not only in Ala Moana, but also Ko'olina. This is what we are seeing getting out of that area. Most of these people, hopefully, were folks who were on the beach, who were maybe in the lower townhouses. But once again, if you're in those taller buildings, out in Ko'olina or anywhere else, if you're in the hotel district, if you're in an office building, 4th floor or above, that's where you should go. You will be safe there, no matter the size of the tsunami. So again, 4th floor and above, do what's called a vertical evacuation. You don't have to leave the area, just go to a higher floor, 4th floor or above, and you will be safe.
We've seen traffic in Waikiki, Ala Moana, parts of urban Honolulu, out on the leeward coast at Ko'olina. We also have shots of the driving conditions along Oahu's windward coast right now. This is the Kaneohe Kahalu'u area. As you have traffic in, this is also an area too where, much like the leeward coast, a lot of high degree of concern among residents here to make sure that you have an evacuation plan and you have something in place, you have somewhere in place in times like this.
Yeah, especially this area, you're going to see a traffic backup nonetheless, because all these homes that you're looking at, they're very close to the ocean. No doubt they are in an evacuation area. Also, some people had to be told to evacuate. This is what it was like when HPD has been going out along the coastlines telling people what they need to do.
To evacuate Ala Moana Beach Park. We are locking and securing the gates in 10 minutes. We are locking and securing the gates in 10 minutes. If you fail to comply, you are subject to arrest. The tsunami wave is expected to be hitting soon. Once again, you need to move to higher ground. You need to move to higher ground. You have 10 minutes.
Yeah, definitely clearing out Ala Moana Park, a very popular place for, at this time of day, there would be a lot of people swimming, a lot of people jogging or walking. And so there are, again, Ala Moana Beach Park is closed. Don't go there. And as police have been saying, you're subject to arrest. Also, Kekaha, Kauai, we have video from that area of the traffic backup along the highway. So there are a lot of people trying to move away, to move to safety, moving to higher ground, or at least maybe get home if they're one of those workers or people who are at work, trying to get to their family or their loved ones to make sure that they're prepared as far as tsunami preparations go.
And a lot of these shots that we're seeing of people driving out are mainly in the coastal areas, right? So Ko'olina, Kekaha, Kaneohe, and Kahalu'u. So, you just have residents in the area taking action, and there is lead time on this. The first wave is expected at 7:10. The next siren is expected at 5:10. So that's going to be in the 5 o'clock hour at 5:10, and there will be another one at 6:10. We have some video of the moment the sirens came down on Maui earlier this afternoon. Again, this is not a live siren. This is from earlier this afternoon.
So that's one of the first indications, at least on Maui, as the siren sounded. We did have the first siren sound at about 3:25, a little earlier, but again, sirens are going to be sounding hourly, 4:10, 5:10, 6:10, as we look at Kahului with Iao Valley off in the distance. We also have some traffic backups in Waikiki, a lot of people trying to get out of that low-lying area. Alawai Boulevard backed up as well. We have some video of that, and you've got 3-4 lanes of traffic backed up considerably, some viewer video. So just again, use patience, because there are just a few roadways. Kapahulu Avenue, you may want to take Montserrat and then cut across over to Diamond Head. If you want to take Montserrat and try to get to Kahalan and go back up, that's one thing that you should be able to do.
Yeah, and even when there isn't a tsunami warning, commuting around that area can be difficult at times. But that is a look at Hawaii Boulevard. You're seeing a statewide response to this event right now. All of Hawaii is currently under a tsunami warning following an 8.8 magnitude earthquake. Tsunami has already been seen in parts of Russia and Japan. I am told that we have an interview with Kauai's mayor, Derek Kawakami, talking about the county's response. I will be informed when that is ready to go. But we're getting in touch with city leaders. Earlier, we heard from Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi, Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda. Let's go back out to Waikiki right now. I believe this is a live shot. What we saw earlier this afternoon were state officers patrolling the coastline, telling beachgoers to please vacate the area. There are still some on the beach, but it looks much better than what it was about an hour and a half ago when you saw many still in the water. I think also some of the hotels and the businesses may have been helping out with the evacuation response as well, because if those spots are going to be closing, you just want to get everyone to safety. This isn't a time to, be frantic about what could be happening, but be in a safe spot right now. Don't let yourself get caught into a situation where it could get hairy. And then also, too, as we approach the top of the 5 o'clock hour, the expectation is that we'll be hearing from Governor Josh Green in a news conference. We see Kauai County's Mayor, Derek Kawakami. We're told he is ready to go. Mayor, thank you very much for joining us. First off, what is the message that you want to impart about safety for Kauai County residents?
Well, I think you covered it perfectly. I think right now the number one mission is to get everybody to higher and safe ground. If you're in a safe area, then stay safe. Being on the road unnecessarily is adding to the traffic. Right now, our EOC is fully activated. Our IMT is ongoing with planning. It's all hands on deck. The number one thing that people can do is stay calm, stay safe, try to stay off of our roads if you don't need to be there. And if you're a low-lying area in a tsunami evacuation zone, you should be seeking higher ground.
Yeah, like I said, Mayor, we've got about 2 hours before the first wave is expected to, the first wave is expected to reach the Garden Isle. So let's say we've got about an hour and a half to basically prepare to get to safety. What should people be doing in the next 90 minutes?
All right, I believe our connection dropped off. Great question. We'll get to it and we'll relay it. Okay, we have Mayor back online. So what was that, Ben?
Yeah, I think, Mayor, I don't know if you heard the question, but we've got about 90 minutes at most, I will say, to be safe. What should people be doing, Kauai residents be doing in those 90 minutes?
They should be getting to higher ground. Material items are replaceable. Right now, if you don't need to be on the road, you should absolutely not be on the road. You should be seeking higher ground, and people need to stay calm. Right now, there's a sense of almost panic. The worst thing that could happen is causing an accident when people are trying to evacuate. So please, if you're in a safe place, stay there. 2 hours are gonna come real quick. We're trying to evacuate people that are in dangerous areas. And so what people should be doing is staying safe. If they're already safe, try to stay there, and stay tuned. Our best information for Kauai residents is kauai.gov/Kima, or our county Facebook page is being updated regularly.
And I think, Mayor, also because there are a lot of coastal areas, because Mount Waialeale basically keeps people from going in or building in. The thing to remember as well, and I'm also talking about maybe visitors to the island, is that most of the roadways along the coastline are 2 lanes. And so you're going to have to practice a lot of patience. Is there anything that, say, law enforcement or others are trying to do as far as guiding traffic, or at least trying to bring some control to the situation?
Yes, they're all there right now. Hanalei is a very tricky spot with the number of 1-lane bridges. And also, people should not be inundating our 911 line if they don't have an emergency. If they're looking for information, please go to our website. Right now, our dispatch is being inundated Quite frankly, with non-emergency calls, they can get all the information they need from our website or our Facebook page. But yes, we are very challenged by the number of lanes on our highways, and that's why we're urging people that if you are safe and don't need to be on the road, do not be on the road.
We saw too that there are a number of shelters that have been opened up. What can you tell us about the resources available at these sites?
Well, right now, the number one thing and the number one resource is that we have these shelters open. As we proceed and see the impact of this tsunami, we will be able to get more resources out there. But the number one thing is we have a number of shelters that are open. People can take a look at our website to see specifically what shelters are open, and we will open more if needed, and we will close some if that is necessary too. But like I said, I think the number one thing people should do is not actually look for a shelter, but just get to higher ground. They can figure out the shelter after we get through this.
And not only just looking for a shelter, but just to make sure, again, for people like in Honolulu, the thing that I've been telling people is that not to do is to try and be like a looky-loo. You know, I want to go see the tsunami. That's something that you really shouldn't do.
Oh, you don't want to be that person.
Definitely. All right.
Kauai County Mayor Derek Kawakami, thank you very much for joining us, as this is a statewide response. Stay safe out there. Kauai County and the counties across the state have this event covered right now and doing their best to get updates out in a timely fashion, making sure residents aren't panicking. We are going to take a quick break right now. Just going to reset, and then we'll be joining you.
Have you heard the good news? Senator John Hughes
6 o'clock now.
From Hawaii News Now, this is breaking news.
Robbins, and we are tracking a tsunami warning, and we are going to be seeing the impact start after 7 o'clock. You see all of the islands under a tsunami warning. Let's take a closer look. The source of why we're seeing tsunami waves come our way is an 8.8 magnitude earthquake that happened in Russia, the depth at 20.7 kilometers. So incredible to see all of that energy. They're already seeing reports of big waves there along Japan as well, and now traveling over open waters. Closer to the epicenter, anywhere from 3 to 4 meters has already been reported. That brings us to 9 to 13 feet. And then you can see the first tsunami waves initially reported at 30 centimeters over in Japan, but it could be expected to be larger as we go into the next couple of hours. So here are the wave readings and what we're expecting when it comes to the forecast. Along the Russian coast, 3 to 4 meters, that's about 10 to 13 feet they already have observed. In Japan, up to 3 meters, but already observing 1.3 feet. In Hawaii, expecting that after 7 o'clock, 1 to 3 meters. That brings us to anywhere from 3 to 10 feet. And also for Guam, the same forecast there, none confirmed yet. So historically, as we break this information down, the Great Chilean earthquake in 1960 was 9.5 magnitude. One of the strongest earthquakes arrived 15 hours later. Here in Hawaii, it was up to 35 feet. In 2010, the earthquake a magnitude of 8.8, much smaller when it comes to the tsunami waves at 3 feet. In 2011, Japan earthquake was 9.1, 6 to 7 feet. Lots of property damage, and we could be seeing some property damage along the coastline, some coastal flooding, and certainly with boats. So if you are in a vessel or have a vessel or know someone who are in harbors, definitely check on them to see if they have a plan to evacuate and to get away from the coastline and go inland towards Malka. And this is going to coincide with high tide peaking at 7:03. High tide coming in at 1.52 feet. High tide and tsunami coming in at the same time. Strong currents and rip currents is going to be a big concern for us. With that coastal flooding, well, it's really hard to say how big the tsunami is going to be, but the initial set of energy arriving at 7:10 in Honolulu this evening could easily be about 0.1 to 0.3, and then gradually getting larger and larger as the night progresses. According to some of the forecast readings, maybe 1 to 2 meters, which is quite significant, more than 3 feet a possibility. Unpredictable, strong currents. That's why you need to stay out of the water. We've been seeing very rough shorelines when we have tsunamis, and we've seen that in history. So something that we'll be watching very carefully are all of these elements coming together. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Jen. And of course, we do have crews stationed throughout the island, including our Jonathan Masaki, who's headed to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. And even our own Daryl Huff, who apparently is stuck in traffic as we monitor the different situations across the roadways. We're getting reports of a lot of traffic jams across town.
This is a statewide response right now. So we've been showing throughout the afternoon it's traffic jams throughout different parts and throughout different counties across Oahu. Many employees leaving their places of business. Governor Josh Green instructed state employees to leave after the warning came down just before 3 p.m. Hawaii time. And this is what we're talking about here. Many hitting the roads. This is from earlier this afternoon, just giving you a picture and giving you a sense right now as residents respond to this warning, which is unfolding in real time. First anticipated wave is at 7:10 this evening. There will be a warning siren going off any moment now. We were told that it will be happening at 5:10. So if that audio does kick in, forgive us here if you're hearing it over the air, or it could be popping up on our phones as well. But the expectation is that another siren will be going off at 5:10, after which we'll be hearing from Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi and city officials here in Honolulu about the response.
Yeah, so of course you are seeing these images right now of the roads that are just jammed.
Okay, we're working out to get get Stephanie's microphone sorted out right now as we're mapping out this response statewide. Traffic jams and traffic backups happening throughout Oahu right now. We are seeing Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi getting ready for a podium, and another monitor we are monitoring in the newsroom here. As we give you a look at the backup on windward Oahu, we also saw a similar site on the leeward coast. Kole Pass is opened up for emergency access at this point. Let's also give you video from Hilo right now. Hawaii County residents leaving the area, and you could be hearing the sirens over air right now as the second emergency siren warning of the tsunami warning is going off right now.
So the message that we've been hearing from emergency officials is to prepare, to have a plan in place. Do not panic at this time. As we take a look at the situation here in Kaka'ako, don't wait until the last minute to leave. But if you and your family do have a plan, meet at a meeting place. Make sure that you have the necessary materials, your medication. Make sure you unplug those sensitive electronics. Also, if you live on a boat or if you have a boat, make sure to tie up that boat properly and take it out to sea. So we again are hearing these sirens sounding off on cell phones across the state. Of course, Hawaii under a tsunami warning after a powerful magnitude 8.7 earthquake off the east coast of Kamchatka, Russia.
Let's go to Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi at the city's Emergency Operations Center with an update.
Well, good evening. Well, if you're watching us right now, you're fully aware that the state is under a tsunami alert. That said, what you're doing is the right thing to do. We ask you to pay attention, stay with your media for updates. Here in Oahu tonight, I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who are going to give you some really pertinent information. But I ask that you stay calm. If you're in a low-lying area, please get to high ground. You'll hear about our emergency centers that are open, and let Randy Collins, our Emergency Management Services Director, tell you that. But we need people to cooperate with each other. Right now, the roads are full, people trying to move. We ask you to stay calm, cooperate, and get to high ground, if at all possible, where you are. We promise to give you complete updates. Right now, the expected time of anything that might happen here in Oahu is going to be somewhere around 7:15. We're expecting it to be at Kauai around 7:10. We'll know. We've been told by Civil Defense that when it passes the island of Midway, we'll get a good read as to what we can expect, and that's not scheduled to happen for a while yet. But we promise to keep you updated. Please stay close to your media. Listen. If you are in a safe place, stay there. And if you're not, do something about it. Get to higher ground. So with that, I want to bring up Randy Collins, who's our Emergency Management Services Director. Randy.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. As the mayor indicated, our #1 priority is to get people to safety. So get out of the tsunami zones, out of the tsunami inundation areas. Those are clearly marked by the tsunami zone signs that you've seen around that we worked hard in instilling over the past year to make sure that you're aware of where those tsunami zones are. You can also find out more information at www.honolulu.gov/DEM. There you will be able to find all the various types of resources about these tsunami warnings. As the mayor mentioned, our #1 priority is life safety. And so right now it's an easy thing. Get away from the beaches, get inland, and get upward. So that's our message right now. I would also tell you that we are working hard with all of the city agencies and other stakeholders to make sure that we are activating the tsunami assembly areas around the Oahu. And we want everyone to, if you do live in an area that's within a tsunami area, first and foremost, go to a friend's house, go to a neighbor's house, go to your workplace, but go inward and upward out of the tsunami area. If you have no other place to go, then go to the tsunami assembly areas that we have activated around Oahu. Would also encourage you to not call 911 for evacuation out of your home. Depend on your friends and family and your neighbors to help you get out of the tsunami zones. 911 services are not for helping to evacuate. Our 911 services are for in danger of life and health services. And so We don't want to over or inundate the 911 centers, so please make sure that you use all other resources available to you to evacuate out of the tsunami zone and get to those other refuge areas. And again, as a last resort, go to those tsunami assembly areas. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ocean Safety for some information about what's happening on the beaches.
Hold on one second. Can I have Mayor step in?
Sure.
The tone was running over the TV. All right. Well, good evening again. I guess the tone was running. So I want to open up by saying, if you're watching us right now, no doubt you understand that we're under a full tsunami alert here. And so that said, we at this point are taking that most seriously. And our appeal to you is to, if you're in a low-lying area, get yourself safe, get to higher ground. Okay, we ask people to stay calm, cooperate. We know the roads are full out there. Our anticipation right now, based on the latest information we have, is that we're a couple of hours away from any potential impact to Hawaii. We're going to get, as I understand it, we'll have a better read once it passes Midway, which should be substantially before then, and we'll be able to pass that on. I've come up here tonight with all the right people here to keep you informed. That's what we want to do, and we will continue to keep you informed. So everybody has power now. You have access to your media outlets. Pay attention, listen. We'll try to help you as much as we possibly can. All of our people are out there doing what they can to help people, but the best thing you can do is to help yourself and get you and your family safe. If you can, get to higher ground, okay? So I'm going to bring up Ocean Safety right now. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Buck Giles from Ocean Safety. Not much to say, but just to reiterate, get to higher ground. Our lifeguard towers right now are closed. We have mobile responders currently giving warnings to people to get away from the beaches and out of the ocean. We've conducted ocean rescue warnings from Diamond Head through Kewalo Basin, as well as on the other sides of the island. But we really need to stress that get to higher ground, get out of those tsunami zones, just be smart and follow what the news is telling us. We will know more information as it comes. Again, we are here to help in before and after anything happens. Thank you very much.
Aloha, good evening. Chief Howe from the Honolulu Fire Department. Just like everyone else said, I'm not going to repeat, but we want everyone to stay safe, evacuate early so you don't put yourself in a tough situation. As far as for our response, we'll do our best to continue services. And at a certain point, our personnel would also have to relocate those low-lying areas. So we came up with a plan to move our resources inland and at a higher elevation. And we're just going to monitor all the reports that continue to come in. And again, try and maintain as much of our response capabilities as long as we can, and not to endanger our staff as well. So I'll hand off to HPD. Thank you.
Hello everyone, Sergeant Dana Souza from the Honolulu Police Department, Major Events Division. Most everybody said it before me. We'll continue to work with fire, any other emergency management agencies to ensure public safety. If you could rely on one another and utilize your resources as much as possible. And if you need to utilize 911 for concurring emergencies. Thank you.
Hi, Roger Morton, Director of Transportation Services. A little bit about our transit situation, that we are planning to stop operating any trip that was scheduled to start at after 6 p.m. So up until 6 p.m., we're going to continue to operate trips. Having said that, some of those trips would not have finished their trip and still be in a possible inundation zone. And so there may be detours that drivers will take people to higher ground if they're in danger. If you are a loved one of somebody that takes the bus and you haven't heard from them, then I would urge you to try to call them and tell them what's going on with the bus service. We have a lot of people that have language difficulties sometimes, and got to get the word out to your loved ones that after 6 p.m. we're going to suspend any service that starts after that point. For Skyline, we're going to run Skyline until the 6:35 trip from Halava, and that'll be the last Skyline. Now, having said all of that, we're going to be monitoring the situation very closely after the event. It's possible that we will restore service sometime in the evening. Thank you.
So I want to say it one more time. You can help yourself the best. We're here to help you, but we need you to help yourself as well. We would not be doing this if this wasn't most serious at this point in time. So please take this very seriously, and don't go down to the beach. Don't be looking at waves. Get yourself as high as you possibly can. So with that, if I can answer any questions, we'll be happy to do so. Yes. You know, I would imagine that HPD right now is out there trying to move traffic along to the best of their ability. I know we've gotten some calls that it is horrible and people are in gridlock, and that's, you know, all I could ask is for people to keep their calm, and we'll try to move things along as best we can, you know.
We're getting calls from people who are disabled. Is there anything they can do with the handy van? Is there anything to try to evacuate or get to high ground?
Yeah, Roger?
Yeah, we are stuck in the 93% of our service right now is running late, and most of our assets are not in a position where we could respond at this point. We urge the families to try to, to take advantage and keep their loved ones away if they're in low-lying areas.
Any other questions? Yes. Well, I know that they're doing a lot down in Waikiki if they're in hotels, and each and every property, I think, has got their own plans, if you will. So pay attention. This is real, and it's most serious. And if they happen to be watching, we don't have these events very often, but when we do, they're real and they're serious. So we just ask you to pay attention, do what you've been asked to do, and we're all going to hope for the best. All right, we'll be back, okay? We'll keep you posted. Anything that we hear that's definitive, that could be of importance in news, we certainly will provide that. All right, thank you.
And you just heard from emergency officials there. And as we take a look now from Kauai, about the Kauai emergency shelters, we're going to list them off for you. These are areas that you can evacuate to: Kapa'a High School, Kapa'a Middle School, Ele Elementary School, Koloa Library, Kauai Community College, Kalaheo Neighborhood Center, Kilauea Elementary School. Now, these refuge areas will have parking and restroom facilities available. And keep in mind, if you are bringing a pet, make sure you bring a kennel, food, and water for the animal.
And county officials are responding statewide. We just showed you the Kauai emergency shelters on Hawaii County. You have evacuation sites open at Pu'u'eo Community Center, Panaewa Park, Kea'au Armory, Pahoa Neighborhood Facility, Ka'u District Gym, the Na'alehu Community Center, Yano Hall, Kealakehe High School Gym, Waimea Community Center, Hisaoka Gym, and Honoka'a Gym. So a number of sites available for those seeking shelter on Hawaii County, as well as Kauai. And as we just heard, circling back to the news conference with Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi, as well as with city first responders, there's an overarching message of, be prepared. Don't panic in this. Have a plan. So you leave the inundation areas, get inland, get upward. So the official warning came down just before 3 o'clock our time. And since then, we've seen traffic backups across different parts of the island, across different parts of the state. Roger Morton, City Transportation Director, was saying that bus service will be going on until about 6 o'clock this evening. And then Skyline, the last trip is at 6:35 from Halava. So there has been lead time in this, so there is time for many to take shelter.
Yes, and the emphasis is if you are in a low-lying area to move inward and upward, just as you said, Mark. But what hasn't been said is obviously if you are not in a tsunami zone, there is no need for you to be out on the roads. Again, we are seeing these images just coming into the newsroom right now of the traffic gridlock all across the island. And emergency officials want to make clear that we want to make sure that we do not congest or overwhelm these roadways unnecessarily. So if you do have a loved one, come up with a plan and make sure that you have a family member. Go ahead and meet them at that area. We want to go now live. We're hearing that a news conference is happening right now with Governor Josh Green, along with other state emergency officials about the tsunami warning. Let's listen in.
Everyone is prepared, everyone is ready for what may come, but there is always some uncertainty about the size of the wave. In about 5 minutes, we'll reconvene a statewide meeting. We will hear an update on the size of the wave, as I said, as it passes through the middle of the Pacific. We'll also be in communication with other states and islands, such as Guam, TSUNAMI, finding out what they have experienced. After the wave has passed, after we're all safe, we will reach out to these other friends of ours across the Pacific to support them in their recovery also.
Mahalo, Governor. Andrew?
From what you shared so far, is any of that based on any ocean readings between Russia and between Midway and Russia?
Yes, there was immediately a response from all of the nearshore buoys. The question was answered almost immediately. Right after the earthquake, it was clear to us that there was going to be a wave. As we have shared, we don't know how large a wave, usually until it passes Midway. And as you can see, it takes 5 to 6 hours to come across the Pacific in this case. That's why we're always postured to first check. We don't want to alarm people unnecessarily, but once we see that there's going to be a wave, we begin our protocol. And usually the protocol results in an initial siren, which you heard, just to kind of wake people up to the severity of the situation, followed by the 3 hours out, 2 hours out, the 1 hour out, and the 30-minute out warnings. At that point, we expect everyone to be fully evacuated, either out of the inundation zones or vertically. People should not, and I will say it one more time, should not, as we have seen in the past, stay around the shoreline or risk their lives just to see what a tsunami looks like. It is not a regular wave. It will actually kill you if you get hit by a tsunami. So you have to be out of that area. Please do not put anyone in a situation where General Logan has to search and find you with a helicopter. It is not likely we will recover you if a tsunami takes you from the shore.
If you're stuck in traffic right now or in the coming hour or so, trying to evacuate, at what point, should you consider, what advice you have to people who are still trying to evacuate at this time and as it gets closer to the 7 o'clock?
I believe everyone should have adequate time to get out of the evacuation zones. There were some accidents on the highway as we were aware coming in. We'll continue to update you, especially based on the size of the wave. Obviously, everyone has to be away from the shoreline. We've been in contact with our tourism authority, Jimmy Tokioka, who's our director of DBED. He's been talking to the hotels. I've been speaking to the hospitals. They are prepared. They've actually activated additional shifts in case there are mass casualties. We are praying that that will not be necessary. If the waves come and go and then we give the all clear, we will be back to fine. We'll be back to normal. We probably will have a lot of debris to clean up. That's where our team will execute kind of the cleanup. There could be some power failures if local poles go down. Be aware of that. There could be some loss of water pressure. That happens sometimes in these circumstances. But once we give the all clear, we will no longer worry about casualties when we'll just be cleaning up. I really think people should have plenty of time, given where we are. Some of the traffic was already beginning to abate when we got here at about 4:55.
This formally concludes the presser, and we will stay tuned. We will have more updates in future press conferences. Mahalo.
To a news conference with Governor Josh Green and emergency officials who spoke earlier, re-emphasizing the same plan echoed by Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi, that in a situation like this, we do have some time to prepare, so use that time. This isn't a time to freak out or panic. And this, what we've been seeing is, aside from the traffic jams, some of the crowds at grocery stores, a very measured response statewide.
Yeah, we're even seeing those long lines at the gas pumps as well. But an important thing that was mentioned in the Honolulu press conference with Mayor Blangiardi was about the 93% of handy van services are running late at this time. So if you do have a loved one who is relying on that service. Roger Morton, you just heard, call them up, call your family member up and let them know that it's likely they will not be picked up. Again, he said 93% of handy van services are running late at that time, and he's urging families to please take care of their loved ones if they are relying on that service and if they need to get out.
Yeah, and let's give you just a recap of kind of how this afternoon has unfolded. The initial quake off the far east region of Russia happened about 1:30 this afternoon, was an 8.0. About 20 minutes later, it got updated to an 8.7 magnitude quake, extremely powerful, very deep below the ocean's surface, and then it was later upgraded to an 8.8. The first anticipated arrival is around 7:10, so about an hour and a half away. Governor Green was saying that a lot of the traffic on their way in, throughout Honolulu seems to have dissipated, as many have seemed to have found their sites. We're staying with you throughout this entire time. So is our First Alert weather team. Let's send it over to meteorologist Drew Davis with the latest. Drew.
Mark, Steph, let's take a look at some of the historical context for this earthquake near Russia. Of course, I'm going to break this down percentage-wise. We've got the tsunamis that have affected Hawaii. 19% come from the west coast of South America, and this is since the 1850s, so it's a large swath of 150 years of data out there. And notice this, the second most, 16% from Kamchatka and the Kuril Islands just off to the east of Russia. Going down, you've got the west coast of North America. That's about 13%. 13% come from Alaska, and then 12% come from New Zealand and Pacific Islands, and it goes down as you're going closer to Indonesia. Well, you may notice about 6% is actually missing from this chart. The rest of the 6% comes from Hawaii. And I do want to talk about, again, some of the historical context from the 16% that come from Kamchatka and the Kuril Islands. In 1952, we had another earthquake off of the same area of Russia, the same fault line that we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks. We had a magnitude 7.5 a couple of weekends ago that actually triggered another tsunami watch. Again, we do have that tsunami warning right now. That watch upgraded to a warning around 3 p.m. this afternoon. There were no deaths from that 1952 earthquake in Hawaii, and I'm just reading some of the information that we have directly from NOAA, but the waves caused houses to collide, beached boats, destroyed piers, scoured beaches, and moved road pavement. And here on Hawaii Island, they had wave heights of 4 meters, a little bit over 3 feet, 1 meter on Maui, 9 meters on Oahu, and 3 meters on Kauai. Again, that's that 16% coming from Kamchatka and the Kuril Islands just off of Russia. Again, this is just a little bit more context to show you that it's very common here in Hawaii, at least over the last 150 years, and that's the only data that we have here, that we see these tsunamis moving across the Pacific Ocean and across the open water towards the island chain. For now, I'm going to send it back to Mark and Steph at the desk.
And we just got this in from Hawaiian Airlines. They issued a statement saying that we are monitoring a tsunami warning for the Hawaiian Islands and portions of the state of Alaska and assessing our flight operations. We are holding flight departures to the islands of Hawaiian Islands on Hawaiian Airlines and Alaska Airlines, and as a safety precaution, flights en route to Hawaii are returning to the mainland or diverting as needed. And guests with travel to or from the Hawaiian Islands should check the status of their flight before heading to the airport. So we're going to be monitoring all the impacts here.
Yeah, and this is a statewide transportation response. When you have this much time leading up to when the initial wave is expected to arrive, a lot of the state agencies, a lot of those in the transportation business are, sending out their updates. We heard earlier this afternoon that the Hilo Airport is closed. In regard to harbors, those with the boats and vessels are expected to take them out, away from the harbor to avoid any sort of damage and keeping them tied off into the slips, because heading out into the open ocean is actually beneficial in these types of situations. And then we also heard as well State Department of Transportation officials and the military saying that Kolekole Pass is open for Leeward Coast residents.
Right, and our Mahealani Richardson is standing by with an update on that. She just spoke to military officials and joins us now with the latest. Mahea.
That's right, Steph and Mark. This is in conjunction with the U.S. Army, the U.S. Navy, and state officials that Kole Kole Pass, linking the west side, particularly in the Lualua Valley area, is now connected to central Oahu and Schofield Barracks. For many, many years, we had heard complaints, especially from those in the windward from West Oahu, rather, that they were trapped and they could not get out if there was an emergency because there is one way in and one way out. And after the Maui wildfires, people were particularly concerned. And so earlier this year, U.S. Army officials and the state had an exercise to rehearse this exact scenario. We just spoke with the U.S. Army Garrison Hawaii spokesperson, and here's what he had to say.
Yes, ma'am. So the U.S. Army, in partnership with the U.S. Navy, the DOT, and HAIMA, have opened up Kole Kole Pass on the leeward side to facilitate evacuations from the west side. Commuters will be able to travel Lualua Naval Road onto Lyman Road and exit in central Oahu.
Are people using the pass now? Can you give us a sense of what's happening there now?
Yes, so both gates, the Navy and Army gates, have been opened on Kole Kole Pass, and civilian motorists are currently traveling from the Navy side onto the Army side and to central Oahu from the west side.
It was a long-standing issue to use Kole Kole Pass. I remember a lot of people were anxious about being able to evacuate the west side because there's really only one way in and one way out. And there was an exercise specifically for this earlier this year. What can you tell us about that exercise?
Earlier this year, in January, we partnered with the Navy, HAIMA, DOT, and DEM for an exercise that simulated a wildfire on the west side. So to get vehicles from the west side of Oahu to central Oahu using Kole Kole Pass. So that was a proof of concept for something that we're using in a real-life scenario today.
At least during your time with the Army, has Kole Kole Pass been used before for an emergency?
For an actual emergency, this is the first time that I've seen Kole Kole Pass been used for a real life scenario. We would like to say that the pass is very steep. There are several hazards throughout. So folks that decide to use this evacuation route, be extremely, extremely cautious and listen to military and evacuation personnel as you transit that pass.
You know, most people have not traveled along that pass. So how long does it take?
Right. So the pass technically starts around Lualua Naval Road. So if you turn right there at the Nanakuli McDonald's onto the road, go all the way back, it's very straight. It's mostly 2 lanes until you come across a small bridge. But it is fully paved. There may be some rocks in the road. So again, we just advise people to be extremely cautious while you're going up the pass.
And how long would it take to travel the whole pass?
With no traffic, it takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes to transit the pass. With traffic a little bit slower, it's hard to tell. I would say maybe upwards of 30 minutes or so. But it is the only alternative route if you're stuck in gridlock on Farrington.
Is there anything else that you would like our viewers at Hawaii News Now to know about the military's efforts during this tsunami warning?
I would just want everyone to know that the military is here as a community partner. We also live here in our community. Our families are in the community. So we want everyone to, be safe and get to safety if you are in low-lying areas, and listen for updates on official channels.
Can you tell us any information specifically about your service members and how they might be preparing if they are in low-lying areas?
Right, so we do have a couple of installations on low-lying areas. Pili La'au Army Recreation Center was evacuated about an hour ago, so the guests there have been evacuated from the west side. We also have several thousand guests staying at the Halikoa in Waikiki. So those guests are, to be protected from any potential storm surge, or advised to be roughly the 3rd or 4th floor and higher.
Okay, so the guests at the Halikoa, they're not being evacuated, but they were told to go to the 4th floor or higher.
Right, especially with traffic concerns and that kind of thing. Anyone in a high rise, the higher the better.
Are you getting any first reports specifically from the Halekoa and just how the situation is in Waikiki?
No specific reports. I did see that there are several folks still on the beach. So I would just really advise folks, take this warning seriously. Your safety should be of utmost concern.
And that is Nathan Wilkes from the U.S. Army Garrison. He's the spokesperson there. Again, Kolekole Pass is open, linking Lualualei area on the west side to Schofield Barracks in central Oahu. That pass was just in an exercise earlier this year, a multi-agency exercise, and it's now being used for real life. Back to you.
Lani, we appreciate that report. And standing by live now is Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda. Mayor Alameda, thank you so much for joining us right now. I'm sure you and your administration are definitely monitoring the situation at this hour. Can you tell us what the county is doing to prepare?
Right now we're at the EOC. We've activated several hours already, and we got all hands on deck. We got all the departments here. And we're working across jurisdictions, so state, National Guard, Red Cross, our county workers as well. We've been through this before, and this is we're not, we're the island with the disasters, right? So it's like a well-oiled machine. So we're doing really well right now.
Mayor, what can you tell us about the shelters available and the resources there that being provided for those that want to attend the evacuation sites?
Yes, absolutely. We activated all our shelters, and so we're sending out messages already, various means, social media, our website, press release. They know where the shelters are at. We also deployed our teams to make sure that there's water and food, and and we're reaching out to our hotels. Those in the low-lying areas, if they need transportation, we have that as well. So we are transporting some folks who need the transportation to our shelters as we speak.
And Mayor Alameda, the alert came out after 1:30 this afternoon. What are you seeing out there on the roads? Are people heeding the warning?
Yes, they are. In fact, there is road congestion. And so, my message to the residents is to be patient. It's a warning, so we have time, and be respectful. And we sent out our police officers, as well as our firefighters, to make sure that the roads are safe. And if we need traffic cops in different areas, we are deploying them as we speak.
What kind of action is being taken as well in regard to the ports? And many have vessels tied up at harbors. What has been the message there?
Well, that's all, danger zones, right? So, they know the protocols on our island. They're very familiar with what to do with those vessels. In fact, Pride of America, a big ship, they knew what to do, and so they head out to the sea because it's safer there. And we took on their passengers. We provided them with transportation to our shelter as well. So, like I said, we have protocols in place. We've been there before, and we're just implementing it as we speak.
And Mayor, do you have a message for air travelers, and can you update us on the situation at Hilo Airport at this time?
Sure. So Hilo Airport's closed. Kona Airport's open, and it's in a safe zone, and so they are continuing their flights, is what I'm told. So if you're coming into Hilo or if you're going out of Hilo, it ain't gonna happen.
All right. Hawaii County Mayor Kimo Alameda, a comprehensive response being activated statewide right now. Mayor, thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure we'll be talking with you more throughout the evening as we keep a close watch on this tsunami warning. So shelters are activated. There was a lot of lead-up time to this. Many are heading for higher ground. Speaking of which, we caught up with back here on Oahu. Our very own Billy V caught up with some residents and visitors who headed up to the Tantalus area in Makiki.
Thank you very much. There's a steady stream of cars up here In Tantalus, people just, trying to find a place to go. Maybe they left Waikiki, maybe they left the lower areas, or maybe they're heading on the freeway and they had to go all the way to the west side. And we've been finding that they've been pulling off of the roadway to come here just to stay, have a place to be for a while until things calm down. We know that's not going to be for a while. But once again, Tantalus is busy right now.
I got told by a friend of mine who's over in Florida right now. He heard it before I did, and so he let me know about the alert, and I checked it out and decided to maybe go up mountain for a minute.
What was happening? What were you doing when you first heard the alert on I'm guessing, your phone?
Waimanalo Beach, kids were in the water, and then we heard we got the warning. We got the warning, and we immediately left.
Okay, so you guys are up here at Tantalus. What was the thought behind coming up here?
This was the highest point we knew. We came in here yesterday and we were like, instead of going to the hotel, let's just go here. I don't know which boat is safer or not. We couldn't ask anyone.
Well, I was swimming in Ala Moana Beach Park, and I got done and I usually check my phone for any emergencies, family stuff. So when I saw that, I go, whoa, and I checked with my family. Get out of the water already, because I did my lap, so I was getting ready to eat. So I got on the road and I noticed traffic was getting crazy. And I live in Makakilo. We're on a hill now. And I was thinking, no way, that H1 is crazy congested right now. And the first thing came up, hey, I haven't been to Tantalus. So I took Punaho, I came up here. And
from Tantalus, Billy V, Hawaii News Now.
Thanks very much, Billy. I'm Ben Gutierrez along with Drew Davis here in the First Alert Weather Center. And just to recap, we are again under a tsunami warning for the entire state of Hawaii after an 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck off the east coast of the Kamchatka Peninsula. The first waves are expected to reach Hawaii at about 7:10 this evening, first for Kauai, then down the rest of the island chain, maybe about 7 minutes later for the island of Oahu, and then continuing downward. All of the emergency operations centers for the counties have been activated, and people are being told, if you haven't heard so already, to be prepared to evacuate if you need to. But if you don't, if you are not in a tsunami evacuation zone, you should stay where you are. Earlier, we had a lot of traffic because a lot of people were let go at the same time. State workers, county workers, just people basically at work, all being let loose at the same time to try and get home, to try to get their belongings, or at least just to be prepared as best they can.
And just to recap, again, this is an 8.8 magnitude earthquake. Earlier today around 1:30 p.m. Hawaii time, it was an 8.0, upgraded about 20 minutes later to an 8.7, and then reevaluated later to the 8.8. I do want to point out something that Ben and I just discovered as we're trying to get the latest information from the Tsunami Warning Center and the USGS. We're going to tsunami.gov, where you can actually look at those bulletins for yourself, and the page is unresponsive. It seems that there's so much traffic. Of course, this is a national news event now. Everybody is watching on the continental United States and across the U.S. They're trying to get into the tsunami.gov website. Of course, everybody is looking for information. And one of the things Ben and I have been talking about today, of course, this is not something to take lightly. This is this is the warning. We had the watch earlier. We were upgraded very quickly to a warning about an hour after the watch was issued. This is the time to take, not to panic, but to take action. Start moving in towards Melka areas, moving up 4 stories or above if you can, if you're unable to move Melka.
Yeah, this would be, when we talk about we always talk about the vertical evacuation. So 4 stories or above, this would be for high-rise buildings, including hotels, Waikiki, Ko'olina, we're talking Ka'anapali, also maybe even Kalapaki Beach on Kauai, that building there, even though it's kind of like a little bit higher up, but for peace of mind, at least on Kauai, move up to a higher floor. You don't need to evacuate the area. Also, emergency officials and we are telling you, if you don't have to evacuate, don't. Stay home, don't clog up the roads. And the worst thing you can probably do is try and go and take a look-see. There's a live look right now at Coconut Island, Hilo Bay, where we have seen in the past some currents that have been coming in. Earlier we talked about, the governor during the press conference that he had, talked about how we don't really know how big the waves are necessarily going to be, because we do have the buoys that take the measurements right close to the coastline, right along Kamchatka, right off Kamchatka, right off the Aleutian Islands, and then you've got this big, wide open ocean where there's no data.
It's just open ocean in between the peninsula and us here in Hawaii, so we have to get the information from Midway and other Pacific Pacific Islands before we can really have an idea. We still have the warning up. It's still very important to take this seriously. I do want to give some stats here. We've had a couple of earthquakes, again, 16% of earthquakes since 1850, so about a little over 150 years of data keeping of tsunamis here in Hawaii. We've had an earthquake in 1923 from the same fault line. That was a magnitude 8.3, so a little bit weaker than what we're seeing out there right now. And it took about 6.5 hours to arrive to Hawaii, and it caused $20 million in damage and killed one in Hilo. 1952, it caused another tsunami, a 9.0 magnitude earthquake, a little bit stronger than what we're seeing with this one, caused $8.94 million in damage. So, of course, there is cause for concern, especially when it comes to infrastructure and potentially impacting those near coastal areas.
Yeah, and when we're talking about 8.8, remember that the Fukushima tsunami was generated by a 9.1 magnitude earthquake. So 8.8, that's very close in magnitude. It is still a bit weaker because, again, the magnitudes are exponential. But when you start getting into the upper 8s, the lower 9s in particular, and when you start getting to 9.2, which I think was the Chile earthquake, definitely it's something to basically be aware of and to be prepared. Right now, let's head back to the desk with Mark and Steph.
Thank you very much there, Ben and Drew, for your analysis there. We also just got a list here, and we'll read that off for you, of the shelters on Maui. But first, we want to show you these images just into the newsroom of the busyness at the gas station over in Eva Beach. You can see long lines of people there. And you heard from Mayor Blangiardi and other first responders said, please just keep your cool. The roads are congested. But on the lighter side, we are actually seeing that traffic is tapering off in some areas.
Yeah, in certain areas. I mean, through the thick of the afternoon, coinciding with the typical rush hour, there was traffic gridlock in parts of Leeward, Oahu. We also saw lines in Windward, Oahu. In town, we want to pull up this video. This is many flocking to grocery stores to stock up on supplies at Don Quixote. This is kind of what happens in an event like this. We see this with hurricanes. The good thing about tsunamis is that you have typically several hours to prepare. But backups throughout Honolulu County, but we also saw footage from across the state as well. We also have this footage right now. It was an aerial shot of traffic in the heart of Honolulu. Let's pull that up right now. You can see just the backup coinciding with when the warning came down.
That's right. And they have their list with them. Toilet paper, bottled water, make sure you have those important medications, enough food to last a week. And we are going to get this list that we want to show you of shelters that are open right now: Lahaina Luna High School and Kihei Community Center.
And our very own Dylan Ancheta is standing by live on Maui right now with the very latest, and he also spoke with Maui Mayor Richard Bisson. Aloha, Dylan.
Aloha, thank you so much. I want to go over the full list of emergency shelters that are opening here on Maui. The county says Lahaina Luna High School, Kihei Community Center, Velma McWayne Santos Community Center, Hannibal Tavares Community Center, Hana High School, and Molokai High School for Molokai residents. Those are all in the process of being opened and shelters. I spoke to Mayor Bisson about 10 minutes ago, maybe 15 or so, and they said that they are in the process of opening those shelters. They hope to have them open very soon, if not already, and they do encourage people who are in low-lying areas to head over to those shelters. And they are welcoming pets in kennels. They are following the usual guidelines set forth by the American Red Cross for those emergency shelters. But I do want to play a little bit more from my one-on-one with Mayor Bisson. Here's what he said.
Yeah, the main thing we want people to know is there's time for us to be calm in moving to inland and higher land. So we just want people to move out of the tsunami zone areas, the inundation zones. We want them to move inland, go to higher ground, but we don't want them to panic. We don't want them to, have to be rushed. We know the traffic is challenging right now because people are trying to do just that. But we just want the messages: stay calm, work together, There's plenty of time for everyone to move out. We're not expecting the first wave to hit Kauai until 7:10. That's the information we received. We're going to get another update maybe in about 10 minutes from Pacific Tsunami Warning, so we'll get a better idea of how big it is and how fast it's traveling. That's our best estimate. Here on Maui, we want people to know there are going to be shelters open. There's 5 of them. The Lahaina Luna High School, the Molokai High School on Molokai, Hana High School, the Wailuku Community Center, and the Kihei Community Center. They'll all be open. They'll be staffed, so people will have a place to go. There'll be places for them to rest, stay while they ride this out, literally, and then bathrooms. We want people to know that their water, especially in all the coastal zones, from Wailuku to Napili, Lahaina, the different coastal areas, that water will be shut off, and that's to prevent any contamination and any destruction of the system. It won't all be shut off at the same time. There's a sort of a rolling shut off. It'll start to shut down. So if people want to start filling up storage containers with water, now would be the time to do that before that gets to their areas. We want people to be aware of what's online, the different alerts that are out there, the sirens, the MEMA alerts. And again, just to take care of each other. That's really the big message. Take care of yourself, your family, our kupuna, and help those that need extra assistance.
Mayor, I want to ask, can you list off some of those specific communities that people should be clearing out of right now? Just earlier, I was by the Queen Kahumanu Shopping Center, and there was still a line of people going in toward the low-lying areas. Can you just list off some areas that people should not be going into?
Yeah, most people know what zones they live in, and the inundation zone. We have it online, so people can go on. There's also a map at the NOAA, NOAA site. There's also pretty explicit maps. But anywhere that's an inundation zone, the low-lying areas from Waihe'e, Wailuku, Kahului, there's several throughout the island, throughout. And what is important for people to know is that this wave will be a wraparound wave. So although it'll come from the west, when it hits, it'll wrap around the island. So all the coastal areas need to be evacuated and head to the highlands. Obviously out in the west side of Maui, all the beach zones, the beach areas, people will know. We just want people to be safe. You might be seeing people go in to get their things to leave and to evacuate. And so, and we're trying to assist with the traffic. We've opened up some roads here on Maui that have been used for our temporary debris sites. So it's from Kuihelani Highway to Veterans Highway or Mokulele, and then from Mokulele up to the Pulehu o Maupio roads. People are already using it now. MPD is monitoring it, so people can cut through what used to be the cane fields and get up to the upcountry homes quicker, instead of having to go through what we all know on Maui to be Hanson Road or Halakala Highway. So there are people that are taking advantage of those routes right now, so we can alleviate, again, the traffic. And again, we're trying our best. People can call 911. They can call the MEMA hotline as well. We have a MEMA hotline, I want to say 270-7825, I believe it is. That's the number that people can call in order to get that information. I do have the number someplace, but sorry, 270-7633. That's our MEMA alert number, 7633. So again, we can assist with what you need, especially if it's evacuation. We want people to give us notice so that we can send a car to get them, or send our paratransit trucks, our MEO, Maui Economic Opportunity vans. We have people making rounds right now trying to get people out of those areas before the waves hit.
And last question, can you talk about some of the exactly what you mentioned, but for Maui Police, your EMS, what are they doing right now, and are they how are their levels? Are they pushed? Is it all hands on deck? I mean, how are they feeling?
Well, this is absolutely all hands on deck, but it's very measured. The Maui Police Department, which always comes through for us in our emergencies, I will say, they're helping us control the traffic. They're helping us control, the evacuations. So right now, it's, we're asking for mandatory evacuations for everybody who's in those low-lying areas. Absolutely going inland, and we're trying to offer the shelters so people have a place to go besides, family. I should say here on Maui, Oski Rice Arena also opened their parking area upcountry in that Makawao, Olinda area. So anyone in the upcountry area who's looking for a place to park their cars and ride this out, Oski Rice Arena, thank you to those folks for offering their location as well. I'm sure there are other places, neighbors, that are helping each other that I may not be aware of right now. This is the latest information we have, Dylan. We're hoping to get an update in just a few minutes.
Sounds good, Mayor. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So once again, that was Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson providing us the latest on what they are doing to prepare the residents of the Valley Isle to make sure that everyone is safe and out of the tsunami inundation zones. I want to recap those official shelters that he mentioned: Lahaina Luna High School, Kihei Community Center, the Velma McWayne Santos Community Center, the Hannibal Tavares Community Center, along with Hana High School and the Wailuku Community Center. Those are the shelters here on the Valley Isle that are opening or in the process of opening for residents. And on the island of Molokai, we have Molokai High School as well preparing to open. Earlier this afternoon, around 4 o'clock, 4:10, during the sounding of the first emergency siren, well, second I should say, I did see a long line of people that were still going into the low-lying areas of Kahului. We were right outside the Queen Ka'ahumanu Center, and there was traffic back to back. And looking at the maps here, it still looks like there is heavy traffic in those areas. So officials are encouraging people to head to higher ground for those who are in those low-lying areas. But ultimately, again, Mayor Bisson says there are many people who are likely looking out for their neighbors and helping one another. And that's what it's all about here on Maui and across the state, really. They want everyone to proceed with caution, proceed with aloha. And if you are out on the roads, there is no need to rush because, again, there is several hours before we are expected to see the first impacts from this impending tsunami. So wherever you are on the Valley Isle, if you are on the lower areas, make sure to make your way upland. Now, Maui, of course, geographically is very tricky because so many of their communities are coastal communities. And so what we're seeing right now is two sides of the Valley Isle, residents from both sides essentially making their way up to higher ground, whether that's meeting in the center or going up the mauna. And so we are keeping a very close eye on all of the situation, the happenings here on the Valley Isle, and we'll bring you more details as we get them. Again, Mayor Bisson is inside Maui County's Emergency Operations Center, and they are getting constant updates, and we are learning those updates alongside all of you. Live in Maui, I'll send things back to the studio, guys.
Thank you very much, Dylan. And we are still awaiting a news conference that could begin at any moment, and we'll take you there live. Hawaii emergency management officials are gathering. But right now we want to go to Oahu's North Shore, where we have our Kyle Chinen standing by live. Kyle.
Yeah, that's right, guys. We're here at Sunset Beach here on the North Shore, and it's a very eerie scene right now. It's a ghost town, one of the more popular beaches here on the North Shore, especially during the summer months. We got here at around 5 o'clock, right before sunset, people catching off. Just want to show you the beach right now. It was sunny. It's sunny right now. It was a little bit dark and gray and rainy just a couple of minutes ago, and like I said, it's pretty eerie seeing here a very popular beach that is empty right now during the summer months. And on our way here, it was very, very packed full of cars, bumper to bumper, with people trying to leave the area. First, when we were leaving, or we were heading here from the Kaneohe side, people leaving from Polynesian Cultural Center, Kualoa Ranch, heading that way back to the Kaneohe area and town. And then when we got onto this side, past Kahuku High School and Intermediate, the line of cars were going this way, heading towards the Haleiwa side. Everyone trying to get away from the shoreline, and that was an encouraging thing to see. Although it was bumper to bumper on the roads, people were trying to get to higher ground, getting away from the beach, and people were practicing their patience. Not a lot of people trying to overtake. They understood the situation, and we passed by stores and different establishments here along the road and on the North Shore, and it was just a ghost town essentially. It looks clear now. A lot of people. I want to show the road. Just about an hour ago, it was at a standstill almost, and now you just see a little bit of local traffic here and there, some trucks driving by as people are preparing for the first wave to hit, which is supposed to hit in about an hour now on Kauai, but here on the North Shore, people are being prepared and staying ready for the chance that a wave hits here on Oahu. Now, excuse me. As you can see, it's clear, it's pretty barren. Minimal cars on the road now, people getting to safety and getting out of the shoreline areas here on the North Shore. And as we continue to get updates here from the officials at the state and city level, and we'll keep you guys updated. But for right now, it seems that everyone is heeding the warnings from the officials here in the state to stay away from the shoreline and get to higher ground. So that's kind of the scene here, a very quiet and unusual sight for the North Shore here during the summer months. That's the latest here, reporting live from the North Shore. Guys, I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Kyle, thank you very much. Yeah, what a image that we saw right there. And also as we saw some of the response vehicles rolling through the region, as we saw earlier this afternoon, some DLNR officers were clearing beachgoers off of coastal areas. Can imagine that was also happening on the North Shore as well. We just got this list from the city of Oahu, what is being called tsunami assembly areas. We're not using the word shelters for Oahu sites, mainly because there are limited services available. So, if you need to be somewhere when the event is happening, these are areas to gather. Here's the list: McKinley High School, Hahaione Valley Neighborhood Park, Waimanalo District Park, New Valley Middle School, Makaha Community Park, Waialua High and Intermediate School, Kailua District Park, and Kaneohe District Park.
Kahuku District Park, Kalakaua District Park, Wilson Community Park, Eva Mahiko District Park, Nanakuli High and Intermediate, Kokohead District Park, Waipahu District Park, and George Fred Wright Wahewa District Park. And once again, the city is not calling these evacuation centers because services are very limited for residents who need to evacuate and move inland.
Yeah, very limited services right now as we are mapping out the response in anticipation of that first wave just after 7 o'clock. Another siren is expected to go off at about 6:10, so just a few moments from now. We have earlier images from this afternoon of the moment the sirens first happened. This is on the North Shore, as you can see in the middle of some gridlock. Okay, there was no sound on that, but that was when you had residents looking for, just trying to leave the area, low-lying areas, trying to get inward, get upland. So we're about just an hour out from that first expected wave. As we're also showing you Haleiwa right now, I think it's also important to note that on a global stage, we are seeing some effects of this tsunami. Tsunami reported earlier in Russia, which is close to the epicenter of the initial quake itself in the Kamchatka Peninsula, and also tsunami seen at the island of Hokkaido in Japan, reported 1-foot wave. Extent of damage so far, not yet known, but when the tsunami made landfall in Hokkaido, the reports are emerging that it was 1 foot.
And for us here locally, of course, the experts at the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, they're still waiting for more information and for that first passing Midway Atoll to get that first reading, to have more of a better sense in terms of the size of those initial waves that would impact Hawaii. As you said, Mark, 7:10 this evening, the first expected waves to arrive in Hanalei, and then 7:17 this evening for us here on Oahu. We just also got an update on when we could expect that press conference to begin with Hawaii Emergency Management Agency officials. Now they're saying anywhere around 6:15 this evening. So we'll bring that to you live as soon as they become available.
A comprehensive response that we are seeing statewide and also from the individual counties themselves as we show you what the roads look like in Hilo this afternoon. The watch became a warning officially just before 3 o'clock Hawaii time this afternoon. What we've seen are a number of developments, especially in regard to the state's transportation infrastructure. road closures to stay out of the low-lying areas, what we've seen with the harbors, boaters advised to take their vessels out into the open ocean. And then also, too, we want to reiterate that Hawaiian Air released a statement about 5:30 this evening that they are holding flight departures to the islands on Hawaiian Airlines and Alaska Airlines. As a safety precaution, flights en route to Hawaii are returning to the mainland or diverting as needed. So you have, what we're seeing here is you're just keeping a close eye on what's going to be happening and taking the utmost precaution as possible.
Right, and if you're still wondering at this hour, if you are indeed in an affected zone, you can always go to the Emergency Management Agency website, and there you can scroll for every single county. You can see the latest maps out there that will outline if you are indeed impacted.
Shelters, evacuation sites, tsunami assembly areas. We've been with you nonstop since the warning happened, since the watch happened at around 1:30 this afternoon. We aren't going anywhere. We are staying with you wall to wall throughout this entire event. Our First Alert weather team has been doing a tremendous job tracking the very latest updates. Let's send it over to Chief Meteorologist Jennifer Robbins with the very latest. Jen.
Thank you so much, Mark and Steph. A lot of important information right at your fingertips, and you can also get that at hawaiinewsnow.com. And we saw this tsunami warning like we're talking about after 1:30. Now we're approaching that window of time, an hour left. It was anywhere from 5 to 6 hours to get here. Now it is 6:10, expected to come our way at 7:10, so within the hour. Magnitude 8.8, and you can see a lot of energy. The caliber of earthquakes, significant. Falling under that 8 to 9 magnitude. Great when you take a look at the severe damage, loss of life. This happens anywhere from about 1 to 10 years. So we are seeing a lot of energy that's happening over the Pacific Ocean, along that fault line, a lot of shaking, as you know. The Earth's plates rub together, causing an underwater earthquake. And we saw the depth that came through, very high in depth. I'm sure you're getting the warnings right now. The earthquake causes a vertical push of seawater that causes the tsunami waves. And with that, as the waves spread into shallow waters, it grows in height. And we're seeing these travel thousands and thousands of miles across the Pacific Ocean. It could travel so fast. If you could think about from point A to point B when you're flying in an airplane, you could see that it takes you so long to travel. Well, these are traveling at 500 miles per hour over the Pacific Ocean, over open waters, and then it gets here within that 6-hour window. So taking a look at history, really interesting when we dive into the tsunami history and their relationship with Hawaii. Hawaii has endured over 160 tsunamis since 1812. Usually the origin that has really impacted us has been Alaska, Chile, Japan, and Russia. It can cause huge surge of energy to travel across the ocean, as you know. And during the past, the most affected area, let's take a closer look. You can see Hilo gets hit the hardest, and the hardest years were 1946, 1960, and 2011. It's known as the hotspot of tsunamis due to the bay shape. And usually when the wave interacts with the bay shape and how shallow it is, it causes bigger waves to come their way over in Hilo. So very interesting with the dynamics of the topography, the depth of the bay, and the bay shape itself. Kona has suffered damage in 1975 and 2011. And as far as the rest of us, Kauai and Oahu's north and east shores can see some run up depending on the wave direction, along with Maui County. And this is key on the wave direction. What kind of wave will be coming our way? There's a lot of unknowns as it's traveling over open waters and that far of a distance. But history shows the magnitude of depth between 8 and 9. You can see in 1960, one of the strongest earthquakes on record, it arrived 15 hours later, up to 35 feet, with Hilo receiving a lot of damage there, and we even faced deaths in 1960. In 2010, the Chile earthquake, magnitude 8.8, really highly depends on that direction. It was only 3 feet, so even though it was a high magnitude earthquake, it was only 3 feet in that rise. In 2011, the Japan earthquake, 9.1 in magnitude, 6 to 7 feet, lots of property damage, as you know, and that one was one for the history books. Taking a closer look at Russia coast, we were forecasting 3 to 4, and observations jumped to 10 to 13 feet, so on target of that. Japan, up to 3 meters is in the forecast, but so far the readings observed was only 1.3. That has been confirmed there. Hawaii expected a little less than an hour from now, after 7 o'clock, from 1 to 3 meters, about 3 to 10 feet. Highly depends on the wave direction and how it travels over the open waters. Over in Guam, about the same, 1 to 3 feet, falling anywhere from 3 to 10 feet. So none confirmed yet. We're just waiting on that. We're closing in on that last hour before it comes our way. And I just want to point that the initial surge of energy could be much smaller, maybe about 0.1 to 0.3 meters after 10 o'clock. But once we jump up into that 8 o'clock hour, that's when we could see that big jump and rise as all of that energy catches up and comes to the islands. And this is going to be wraparound energy across the entire island chain that we're seeing, but starting at 7:10 over Honolulu this evening. And it's important to note, even though some areas may not see a whole lot of runoff or coastal flooding, it is going to be very unpredictable with the strong currents. And this has been a concern with a lot of our tsunamis in the past, strong rip currents and the strong currents that will come. So that's why it's important to leave the beaches, not be near waters, not watch from the shorelines, to be at higher grounds, because there's just too much that's unpredictable in all of this. So tsunami warning is up and running, and that is going to be closing in on that hour as we approach 7:10. Mark and Steph.
That's right, Jen. Thank you so much. And we want to go now live. This is a live look at Hanalei Bay on the Garden Isle. And this is where the first tsunami waves will arrive at around 7:10 this evening.
Yeah, that is the first site of expected activity. We are now less than an hour away. After the quake happened around 1:30 our time this afternoon, we are anticipating an update from state and county emergency officials at any moment now. When that happens, we'll be going out to it live, but the first wave is expected to arrive. 7:10, Hanalei is that first location where we could be seeing any type of activity. So as we're keeping a very close eye on this, we have crews at the Emergency Operations Center. We have a crew on Maui. Dylan Acheta was there. We just heard from him. And also we have a crew en route to the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center right now, expecting a new update very shortly.
And of course, our First Alert weather team is also standing by with the very latest. And we want to go now to our Ben Gutierrez and Drew Davis for more insight.
All right, good evening, Steph. Good evening, Mark. Of course, we've been tracking this throughout the entirety of the afternoon. The earthquake happened at around 1:30 p.m. Hawaii time. One of the things, of course, we've been talking about is just absolutely how strong this earthquake is. This is an 8.8, upgraded from an 8.7, which was originally estimated to be around an 8.0. Of course, we don't typically see an 8 in terms of the Richter scale about once a year. We're nearly at that 8-point or that 9-point scale, where we see one of those about roughly one every 10 years. We've been showing this graph a lot today. This is just the overall caliber of the earthquakes, and of course this is on a fault line that's very active just off of Russia. Ben and I have been talking about this since last week. Ben, you were here in the studio covering a tsunami watch for the island chain for a magnitude 7.5 earthquake, which is an energy equivalent to about 1 billion pounds of TNT or explosive, but this one, nearly 1 trillion pounds of TNT. And Ben, what was it like when we had that watch initially and it was taken down about a week ago?
It was there was obviously some concern because during the watch, this is the period of time when officials, Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, the geophysicists, the seismologists are looking at all the data and trying to determine if a tsunami has indeed been generated. The watch basically means that it's a heads up. You're supposed to take basically, be aware that an earthquake has occurred and a tsunami may have been generated, and then be on the alert for a tsunami advisory, which would tell us that a tsunami is coming, but it won't be destructive, or a tsunami warning, where a destructive tsunami could be possible. We've been talking about, even the officials have been saying, we don't know how big the waves are going to be. On the Kamchatka Peninsula, as Jennifer has been talking about, or Japan, parts of Russia, some of them have been up to maybe 20 feet or thereabouts, 15 feet. It depends on where you are. Some of the data that we've been looking at have been indicating that we might get a tsunami anywhere from maybe 3 to 9 feet, but that is not for certain. What we do know is that this uncertainty means that we need to evacuate nonetheless, because again, there's a distinct lack of data. When you look at the globe, we're in the middle of the Pacific, and basically there's nothing in this large area back here, or over here, that tells us exactly how big a wave is going to be, how big a tsunami is. We've got all the dart buoys that are like right along the coastline, so that'll give us the initial indication. But then when you get to the actual in the middle of the ocean, we have to guess, basically.
We're kind of in just kind of a waiting period right now. Again, we've been reporting all afternoon and all evening that we're waiting to see the data from the Midway Atoll. That's typically our first chance to see the size of a tsunami when it comes from the northwest or comes from the west, like we've seen in 2011 with Japan. We have to wait to see how it propagates across the Pacific Ocean. And we're about at that time where we're expecting to get that data soon. And as soon as we hear from the Midway buoys, we will report that as soon as we can. And now we're within 1 hour. Right now, as of on air, it's 6:20 p.m. The original estimates for the Hanalei arrival of the tsunami, 7:10 p.m. We're within 50 minutes of the arrival, or the estimated arrival. It's not going to be exact, but we're going to be around that time, 7:17 for Oahu, and then continuing down the island chain within the next 20-ish minutes. So again, we've got a lot to watch over the next hour or so, and we still have time. You still have time to prepare. You still have time to go upstairs. Make sure to grab important documents, grab water, non-perishables in case you're stuck for a while, and of course, make sure to take care of your family first and make sure they are aware of the threat.
The other thing to remember is that even though we might not know the size of the wave, again, and just reiterating, this is not a surf wave. This is an entire column of water that goes from the ocean surface down to the bottom of the ocean. And as that ocean bottom starts to get higher and higher, as it gets closer to land, that energy is going to be going up into the, basically, going upward and spreading out. And so we could still see some very strong currents, even if the wave is not there. Right now, we've got a live press conference to take to you. I think this is over at the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency.
Aloha, we're going to give another quick update here. As everyone has heard several times, a very significant earthquake off of Kamchatka, creating a wave. Important data point, when the wave passed through Midway Atoll, it was in total from peak to trough, okay, trough to peak, 6 feet. That means a 3-foot wave riding on the top of the ocean. And that was the piece of data we got just a few moments ago. We're tracking the wave at several different points. As I said, at Johnson Atoll, we had that wave at 3 feet amplitude. We will also be getting data from Wake Island, and the Aleutians are seeing some waves. And then finally, French Frigate Shoals at 6:33 p.m. we expect more data. Guam will see some waves at 6:57 p.m., but we are still expecting this significant wave. So everyone has to continue to be vigilant. There are a few other things that I need to report. As to the evacuation, that should be maintained absolutely beyond the waves hit on our island shores. We will only give the all clear when we feel there's total safety. We have begun coordination for additional people. The homeless coordination has been ongoing. We're making sure individuals without houses are notified of the tsunami warning and they're being removed from the areas. That coordination is going on all islands. We're working with service providers everywhere. I will say, once again, this is a very serious event. We have Black Hawks activated. We have high water vehicles ready to go. So we will be able to rescue people, but please do not put yourself in harm's way. Make sure you actually evacuate right now. We're going to have another update from everyone soon at 6:50. You'll hear one more alarm, remember, at 6:40. That's 30 minutes out from when the first wave is expected to hit Kauai, and that will be the last alarm you'll have. But we will give constant updates. I'm going to turn it over now to General Logan.
Aloha and good evening. Thank you, Governor. So the Hawaii National Guard remains postured, as I described earlier. We've placed liaison officers into all the emergency management agencies within all the counties to create a near real-time response capability. We also have additional forces that have been activated. The governor touched on this, but we have high water vehicles, which are those with large tires, big engines, that can do a variety of different mission sets, and we have soldiers that are already manning those. We also have additional aircraft placed into an alert capacity with crews that can do a variety of mission sets, which are medevac, search and rescue, and hoist operations to rescue folks and take them to a hospital care facility or a point of care. I want to reiterate something that Governor Green said is we're not out of the woods yet. We're collecting data as the wave or the energy passes through some of the other islands. We're in constant contact with all of our partners, either on the mainland or within here, our state of Hawaii, the greater part of the Department of Defense, and also transmitting data to our National Guard headquarters on the mainland. So I ask everybody to remain vigilant. Take this seriously, and wait until you get the all-clear signal, or we reduce the warning to a lower level from either your state or your county official government sources. Thank you very much.
Mahalo, Tag. Up next, Hawaii Emergency Management Agency Administrator James Barros.
All right, aloha. As we move this evacuation from those zones, we want to ensure that you're doing it safely and you're not panicking. You have time to get out of the inundation zone. The counties are working their sheltering plan and opening up tsunami assembly areas. So work with your counties, go to your county websites and see what shelters are being opened. The state is posturing that if needed, we can provide additional support post-impact at the shelters. I have opened the line of communication with FEMA, so we're on several calls so far. FEMA's postured to support the state at this time. Thank you.
Mahalo, Administrator Barros. Finally, we will bring up the Director of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, James Kunane Tokioka.
Mahalo. Aloha. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I will give an update on the visitor industry and what we're doing to the visitors that are here in Hawaii and informing them. I've been in contact with Jerry Gibson from the Hawaii Hotel Alliance and Jeff Wagner. We leaned on them during the Maui wildfire to help us, so we're leaning on them now. And the properties that are along the coastline are being asked to evacuate vertically, 4 floors and above. Some of the people have left the hotels, and the ones that have left the hotels to go to the airport, if they need a place to stay, when the airport is shut down, if it is shut down, then they should call the property that they came from to see if there is still availability at that property so they can go back there. I want to ensure that their friends and family on the mainland understand that there is a plan, and I think we need to give the governor and Administrator Barros and General Logan, big kudos, because there was a lot of training that went on after the wildfires, and this is the perfect opportunity for us to put those training, what we learned in training, into place. So thank you all for that, and be patient with each other. God bless you all.
Mahalo, Director Tokioka. At this time, we will open up for questions from the media, and I will call upon everyone one at a time. And I'm going to start with Ashley from Hawaii Public Radio.
Can you talk about what it means, what a 6-foot wave kind of means? Like, can you give some type of, reference point for people as to what that's going to look like?
So the question is asking, can we clarify and kind of give deeper details to what a 6-foot wave means?
I think that's a very important question to clarify. So when we describe this wave, it's probably more accurate to describe it as having an amplitude of 3 feet above its base. When the water pulls back from a tsunami, you have the base drop. That becomes the trough of a wave to a peak, which is higher. That full distance from peak to trough is 6 feet. This would be 3-foot wave riding across the top of the surf. I wanted to remind people, this is not just like a wave comes off the shore, a 3-foot wave smacks down on the beach. This is a longitudinal wave with great force driving through the shoreline and into land. That's why we ask people to evacuate very far back. People asked if there was a generic way to describe how far you have to get away from the shoreline. To be absolutely safe, it's at least 4,000 feet. That's the better part, that's 4/5 of a mile, basically. That's why these inundation zones, which you can see on the map, which show red, are not just a few feet off of the shoreline. It is, again, not just a 3-foot wave. It is a forceful wall of water that will move across the shoreline and into the community if we ultimately get hit by this tsunami. We will get extra information as we go. It was described to us that it is impossible to predict until we get closer exactly how large the wave. It could be significantly larger than that, and it also could be smaller. We're aware of that. A little bit of history, just so people know real quickly. In 1946, before we had alarms, on tragically April Fool's Day in 1946, the tsunami hit Hilo. It was started by an earthquake that was 8.6. This one is larger. It took 4.5 hours to hit Hawaii. That year, we lost 159 loved ones. It was the middle of the day. Another tsunami that came in 1960 that hit Hilo, also there, came from Chile. It was a 9.5 magnitude, which is an extraordinarily large earthquake. That was on May 22nd, 1960, took out 500 homes. That caused a 35-foot wave. It happened at 1 a.m. in the morning, which is why we lost 61 loved ones that year. So we will not be out of the woods until we come past first the wave that strikes Kauai, and then we'll see where it inundates along the rest of the shoreline. Again, it will not just hit some parts of the island, it should probably spread around the islands. And so you can expect waves everywhere, provided that tsunami does hit as we expect.
Andrew, Honolulu Star-Advertiser.
You answered a couple of questions I had already. What about electric utilities? At least Hawaiian Electric says they're coordinating with emergency management folks. Is there a plan for the power companies to preemptively shut off power sometime before the expected arrival time?
So the question is around public utilities and whether or not there will be a shut-off, electricity.
So we are in constant communication with HECO. Right now, the protocol is not for them to shut off, but we're in constant comms with them that if we see it impacting worse than what we anticipate, then we'll ask them to go into a shutdown. But we're having conversations with them.
Also, as it was described to me, we can expect the wave to hit poles, and usually poles will go down. We expect significant debris. If we end up having a 3-foot or larger tsunami come through communities, there are going to be significant amounts of debris that can damage these poles. They will be out in force immediately once they get the all clear. They will also have to wait for the all clear because we can't afford to lose anyone driving along the roads. And we also don't want to send the wrong message. Anyone could be confused by seeing, anyone other than General's team out there. You can expect everyone to stay off the road. But we will do search and rescue throughout.
Lei'ui, KITV4.
Andrew had my question about the electric grid. So my question is, what specific criteria moving forward, whether it be seismic activity, are you guys looking at to lower the threshold of the tsunami warning and going down?
So it's a request to describe sort of the criteria for how we move down from a warning moving forward? Mike.
The first part will be the actual progression of the wave. So at 6:50, which is about 17 minutes from now, we'll resume our next meeting. We're probably getting data almost as we speak from Wake Island, and then the French frigate shoals. That was expected in this moment. So they'll be giving us some extra wave data. But that first wave will hit around 7:10, and it could take as long as 30 minutes for the waves, is my understanding, to hit other parts of the islands. So we'll be able to give kind of constant updates about where the waves are. As you can imagine, there are going to be people out there communicating on social media. Again, please just stay home. Let the waves ride out, let the energy dissipate, and then we'll be able to give people a full accounting of when the time is to stand down.
Again, I'll just reiterate, that, we're going to leave it to the science. And the folks that are at the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center are well-versed and well-experienced in all of these types of activities. They're gathering data, like the governor said, from some of the other land masses that have, and the buoys and the deep ocean sensors. And we're going to rely on them to advise us. I don't anticipate it to be immediate as the waves first start hitting the parts of our state at 7-10 hours. So it may take several hours after that to see that amplification and see it dissipate. But rest assured that immediately upon learning that, we're going to put that information out through a variety of different media, to include the media that we have here today, so that people can try to get their lives and return to normalcy. Thank you.
I'll go to Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
When you talk about a 3-foot wave, how does that compare to the ones that cause the great damage in Hilo? And also, how certain are you about that measurement? Can people look at it and rely on that when they look at, say, a tsunami map? Is there any reason for people to go beyond what the tsunami maps tell them about where they should evacuate?
So lots packed into that question. So it's a question around describing that 3-foot wave, and the impact in comparison to past history, which I think the governor shared.
Okay, so the comparative waves, the wave in 1960, when we had the giant earthquake off of Chile, was gigantic. It was a 35-foot wave. I mean, that was a total destruction wave. It came and wiped out houses completely. Right now, the first indication we had, the first small crest was actually just 30 centimeters, about 1 foot, and then that was followed ultimately by 6 feet from peak to trough, okay? So that 30 centimeters, I believe, was the peak to trough of initial. Now we had a 6 foot. We continue to get data. It can come in like several kind of waves of water. It usually goes in cycles of about 20 minutes is how they are seeing these this forceful water come through. This is not, we pray, going to be anywhere near like that tragic tsunami in 1960. And we'll give updated measurements as soon as we hear specifically what the French frigate shoals show. That's going to be helpful. As we hear those data, we'll be able to push some of that out perhaps on social media. We'll come back out again repeatedly throughout. But soon we're going to see the wave. In about 3 minutes, everyone can expect the final siren, which is 6:40, and then we will hopefully see everyone out of harm's way, and we'll begin to tell you how the waves actually hit.
One final question from Daryl.
So given the size of this wave, what is the vulnerable infrastructure other than the electric grid?
So given the size of the wave, what is the vulnerable infrastructure besides the electric grid?
A couple quick things, and then I'll have General come up. I mean, this is about 3 feet, okay? But a wave of water, that means it can move cars, it will throw fences around if it hits, it can dislodge trees. That's why you just can't be out there. The impact is at great speed. Any structure that gets loose and strikes an individual could take them out. And people can drown quite easily with the force of that kind of wave. So again, people have to really distinguish the waves we are accustomed to on the coast every day versus a tsunami. It's a different beast altogether. And of course, if it gets much larger, they do anticipate it could be larger. That's why they get multiple measurements. It's even more dangerous, even more forceful. Houses will be damaged. There will be debris all over the place if we do get a full tsunami.
Yeah, the federal government classifies critical infrastructure into 16 separate categories. About 13 are relevant to the state of Hawaii. One in particular is what we call transportation. It's broken down into either airport, highways, or harbors. As you know, all of our harbors are at sea level and are vulnerable. We don't know what those impacts are going to be, and we're constantly evaluating those, because not just a tsunami here, but a hurricane could have similar effects. Most of our airports are also near sea level, except for some of the smaller ones. So it's good that we have the Department of Transportation participatory in the update meetings that we're having so they can anticipate what those impacts might be. And then we have plans in place to try to assist to get those back operational as quickly as possible. The governor did talk about many of our road networks are near sea level in our coastal regions and quite possibly to the road itself. or all the power lines and all the other infrastructure that goes along with it may be impacted by some type of wave or tsunami system. So we're careful about that. We don't have a compiled list together yet, but in just about every hazard that we have, it's incorporated into our all hazards plan, and we're either going to be directly able to help assist in its recovery, or call in additional assets as necessary.
Expect in one moment the next alarm, so why don't we actually pause now, and we'll come back to you in short order. We should have more data, but if we don't come back to you, just please, everyone, be very safe, and we'll begin to report on the waves as we get direct observations. Kind of around, we still anticipate 30 minutes from now, around 7:10. Thank you for being safe.
And that was just really good information provided by the governor there and officials about the first measurements that they got from Midway Atoll, the wave measuring 6 feet, but across the ocean 3 feet. And they say that it doesn't sound as large. However, do not be mistaken, because these are tsunami waves, different from a surf wave. They push inland and they also wrap around the islands.
Yeah, and emergency officials repeated, several times that, it's impossible to predict. Whatever happens in one location is not an indicator of what will happen here in the islands, as we are about 30 minutes out from the first expected impacts of the wave.
Right now we're hearing that alarm. That is the final alarm that the state is going to issue, signaling that we are just 30 minutes away from the estimated arrival of the first tsunami waves that will arrive in Hanalei on the Garden Isle, on the island of Kauai.
And Governor Green also said that this will be the last siren.
This will be the last
so the 6:40 siren that just went off right now, we'll be having more updates from emergency officials. But in the meantime, we do want to go back to our first alert weather team, kind of breaking down what Governor Green was talking about, because this is really the first time that we've gotten some real data in regard to impact on this. So let's send it over to Ben Gutierrez at the First Alert Weather Center. Ben, how do we process and digest what the governor just said in terms of measurements?
Well, he's been talking about trough to crest, and of course, that is at the buoy over at Midway Atoll, which is, I'm going to try and zoom out here, and it is actually right, if we didn't have, hang on here just a second, because we've been working on trying to get some of the data to you. We're looking at, hang on just a second, I'm just going to erase the satellite imagery. Honolulu is there, you can see that. And then we're going to try and put at least some kind of indicator as to where the Midway is approximately, I'll just put it right about here or thereabouts. I've got two that the passes, yeah. So let's see, hang on just a second. We're just gonna try and zoom out a little bit.
Just so we can see the labels real quick. Again, Midway Atoll is off to our northwest. That's typically where we see information from approaching tsunamis. And one of the reasons we are a little bit concerned about this is kind of the way that the seafloor works here in Hawaii. Unlike the continents, we don't have a continental shelf really that's right offshore. You don't see very shallow water really quickly. The Hawaiian Islands, of course, are formed volcanically, and they're essentially steep mountains in the ocean. So there's a very steep drop off into Pacific water. And
if you can come back to the Weather Center for just a second, because I think what we can do is show you a little bit. So here we have the map of the islands, and then farther off in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, Drew, if you can like zoom out, we're talking about Midway Atoll, which is one of these islands here. And of course, the buoy there is the one that recorded the trough to crest of 6 feet. Now, again, what does that mean? It means that we do have at least a column of water that may be about 3 feet tall. That is in the open ocean because it is still pretty deep. Let's zoom back in on the Hawaiian Islands, and then we can show you a little bit of what we call the bathygraphy, which is like the opposite of topography, which is what you see on land. Bathymetry, rather, is what we have. So if you look at areas like Hanalei Bay, and we'll just go to a close-up, we can see like right here at Honolulu Bay. It might be a little bit shallower over here, and so that means that the energy is going to start coming in a little bit higher. And we do have another press conference right now. Mayor Rick Blangiardi of Honolulu is about to take the podium.
Have already gotten to safe places. And the fact is, I would encourage you to keep watching. We'll try to update you as much as we possibly can. One of the things that's developed, we brought our team here, and I want Chief Vanek is going to speak to you in a moment, is that at 6:30 tonight, we begin a contraflow to traffic to send everything Mocha. So any one-way streets headed Mackay, people can get on there and head Mocha. So if you know somebody who's stuck in traffic, and we know there's a lot of people still stuck in traffic, if you could place that call, I'll let Chief and Roger Morton, our head of Transportation Services, give you a little bit more detail, but we want to reverse that. We're trying to get everybody out of harm's way, okay? So again, if you're watching us now, you know somebody who's stuck in traffic, okay, tell them they've got to be very careful because we can't have the lights. I don't know how many patrol officers we have out there to direct traffic. Be careful, but you can go out on a one-way street and head Malka. So with that, I'd like to bring up Chief Vanek.
Thank you, Mayor. So the first thing I'd like to say is just to echo what the Mayor said is make sure you're listening to the first responders. If they're giving you directions, definitely if they're telling you to evacuate, evacuate. If they're giving you directions to drive in a certain direction, follow their directions. The next thing I'd like to ask and tell you is if you don't need to be on the roads, don't be on the roads. If you've arrived at a safe location, like if it's your house, a friend's house, a shelter, or just somewhere safe, stay there. And stay there until it's safe. If you don't need to be on the roads, don't be on the roads. Stay there until you get the all clear. And then finally, if you don't need to call 911, don't. Don't inundate the 911 system. We have a lot of officers out there. They're responding to emergencies. So if you don't need to call 911, unless of course it's an emergency, stay off the 911 system because we need our officers to be able to respond to actual emergencies and calls for 911. With that, let me turn it over to Director Roger Morton.
Yes, thank you. I know it's been a rough day on the highways today. The good news is it seems to be we're clearing a little bit, but but since 2 p.m. we have been adjusting our traffic lights to facilitate Malcolm Mackay travel. And we're continuing to do that. In addition, HPD dispatch has been getting their officers to give directions right on the street. My message really is we're half an hour out from when we anticipate this wave to hit. If you're on an east-west coastal highway, now is the time to calculate, are you going to be on high ground? And if you're not, if you have any doubts, you need to get up Malka side immediately because that's where we're going to have a problem is on our coastal highways, on Kamehameha, on Farrington, on other highways around the island. So that's the message that we have is that police on downtown areas are facilitating travel up. It's been a rough day. I know it took a long time for people to get out, but now's the time to get to high ground.
Aloha, Randall Collins with the Department of Emergency Management would like to reinforce inland and upward. Get to a safe zone. Get out of the tsunami area and get to a safe area. That is the number one message. The second message is to stay informed. There is one place to get accurate information, and that is at hnlalert.gov. There's no www, it's just hnlalert.gov in your browser. Not only can you get information there about the tsunami zone areas and where we have activated our tsunami assembly areas, you can sign up and stay informed as we continue to text out information and message information through that application. So hnlalert.gov. Would like to thank the mayor for his leadership. We have enacted or proclaimed a local state of emergency that has opened up all the funding and all the resources and all the decisions that we need to make sure that we can keep people safe. And so with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Ireland.
Good evening, Jim Ireland, Department of Emergency Services.
EMS had a really busy afternoon and early evening. I want to thank all our paramedics, dispatchers, and EMTs for just all the hard work that they've done today. We have an emergency plan for this type of scenario. We will stop potentially responding and may not be able to respond into the inundations zones as we get closer to the predicted wave arrival, and that time has already passed. So for emergencies that are in the inundation zone or near the inundation zone, we may or may not be able to respond over the next 45 minutes and potentially longer until we get the all clear. EMS has had a variety of calls today, just like any other day, but we've had, it seems like an excessive amounts of traffic accidents. We had a critical accident up in Laie, another accident in Waialua, as well as Pearl City. So just wanted to echo what the others said as far as just taking your time, drive safely, be careful, because we don't want to tie up ambulances and resources for preventable accidents like traffic accidents. So be careful, again, heed the warnings, get to higher ground now. This is all good advice, but we're really coming in really close now to the predicted wave time. So as we get closer, again, EMS may or may not be able to respond to a call in the inundation zone. CORE, which is also in my department, has been very busy. Since about 4 o'clock today, they've been going to coastal areas to help inform and give notice of evacuations to our homeless encampments and populations in these areas. They haven't been able to hit everywhere on the island, but they've tried to hit the busiest and most populous areas for the homeless. So again, a very busy afternoon and potentially evening for EMS. We have called in extra resources. Our ambulance bus is staffed if we need that later, and we'll be standing by with everybody else to see what exact impact this event will bring over the next few hours. Thank you. Yeah.
Accurate information can save lives, okay? So as I've said repeatedly throughout the breaks today, you know, watching your television stations, stay in tune as long as we have power. Please do that. Provide good information. What Randy said about hnlalert.gov, absolute source of correct information. So I want to caution everybody, because I've already seen some social media stuff out there. We're talking about a circumstance right now that we really cannot predict, but we know one thing for certain. If it hits, okay, it can affect lives. It's strong enough, the potential of that. We want you to be accurately informed. As you can see from what you heard in the state report and our city report, we're doing everything we possibly can to help you. So please, stick with the accurate information. Don't be deceived by all kinds of stuff. Look to your sources here. And I promise you we'll continue to update you, not just after the wave hits, if in fact it actually hits, or what happens throughout the night. Because just so you know, I've been through this before, the wave is expected to be here 7:10 in Kauai, a few minutes after that on the island of Oahu. But we might not get an all clear for hours, because that's how these perform. March 11, 2011, that's exactly what happened. We were due at 3:17 in the morning, and at midway, it was a 6-foot wave. It was a 6-foot wave traveling 550 miles an hour, and we were not looking at a good situation. Tonight, they didn't talk about the speed, except we were being told by the civil defense people that this is going to be really bad. Okay, that was then. So it turned out we had some, the waves came in, they receded back out, and went back in. They did it 4 or 5 times, and they kept telling us the next one could be big. We did not get an all clear for a wave that was supposed to hit us till 3:17 until 11 a.m. the next morning. So we don't know what kind of an evening we're in for, but you want to pay attention. You want accurate information. This could save your life. I promise you, all of us will do everything we possibly can to help everybody out there, but you also have to help us too. So pay attention to that. And one last time, okay, if you're anywhere near the water, get out of there. Get to high ground, okay? Thank you. Any questions?
A lot of people park like on Atlas and mountain areas, just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
So I know you said it's hard to predict for a timeline, but a lot of them will see that initial wave and then say, okay, we're good. So what can you tell them? You know, they want to get home, but they're still in the car.
Well, I think that they want to go to HNL Alert, and we'll be talking to people at that. If all they have is cell phones, assuming they're not watching, they can't watch television, or maybe they have some kind of reception there, or to any of the station's websites. But stick with accurate information, and we'll keep you folks advised too as to what people should do. We're going to just, you know, Lynn, in this situation, we cannot over-communicate. We all know that. We're going to try to do that as reliable and as a detailed way as we possibly can. So I know last time, because people did the same exact thing, and that's what we've been encouraging. People didn't come down from the mountain until after sunrise. A lot of people stayed up there. You want to stay until you get told that it's safe to come down. That's what I would tell people. Wait until you find out it's safe to come down, because as I said earlier, that last time on March 11th, if you remember, that tsunami was in Japan. It was the most televised tsunami ever because it was daytime, cameras everywhere, and it was almost surreal watching what was going on. And so while I choose not to think about the worst happening, at this point in time, in this hour, I want to be as conservative as we possibly can in the spirit of saving people's lives. So information is very, very important. Okay, we don't know what we're dealing with right now. Within minutes, we probably will, and we'll go from there, and we'll keep you posted. If you're in a safe place, stay there until somebody tells you to leave. Yes, ma'am. Well, we're going to have to see what the extent of it is. I think, we've got everybody out there between HPD, our fire department, our first responders, EMS, Jim is here. We're going to be on full alert. I mean, we're going to try to do everything we possibly can. And you heard the governor say the same thing with all services here. We're all in this together in a moment like this. We will do everything we have with the available resources we have to respond the way people would hope we would respond. That's the best I can tell you. Right now, I'm hoping for the best. We're trying to prepare for the worst. We're hoping for the best. Yes. Yeah, I'll bring up Jim on as far as the tools. Okay, thank you.
Well, from our standpoint in EMS, we have ambulances, ground ambulances, SUVs. So those are our tools. But I think in the earlier press conference from the governor, he talked about his air assets and the National Guard being on standby. And I can't speak for the Honolulu Fire Department, but they also have air assets. So when we are in a rescue situation, we have seen the air assets for lots of different agencies here and across the country, whether it's National Guard, Coast Guard, or the Fire Department, be able to do rescues where ground vehicles can't get in. So besides what we have available to respond on the ground, there are those air assets for those other agencies, not ours.
Yeah, and I would like to add, I spoke to Admiral Reagan earlier from the Coast Guard, and they've deployed all of their assets out in the ocean. They're hitting around all the coastlines, and they're also going to be readily available, which is a great resource as well to complement our other resources. Anybody else, guys? Anybody here? Anything else you want to add? Is there anything else?
Mayor, so Dr. Arlen said that they can't send their ambulance crews into the zone right now. Is that the same with HPD and with HFD just because of the danger to those assets?
The question is, can we send our HFD or an HPD into the zones that Jim said we're going to keep out of right now if they're in danger zones? Is that right, Wayne?
Yes.
Our officers are dedicated, and they're going to put themselves in danger like they do every single day. But I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a 6-foot wave coming at 500 feet per second or whatever it is, I don't think I'd blame them if they don't go rushing into that. But what I will tell you is that our officers are highly dedicated, and as a matter of fact, we've kept back all of our daytime officers. We called in our nighttime officers early. They're not actually even supposed to start until 9 o'clock, but all of them came in early. So we have way more than 100% working right now, and that just goes to show their commitment. I have full pride that they're all in, working really hard. All of our support units are in. We'll do what we need to do to make sure that we keep the public safe. And I want to assure you that we're there for you to keep the public safe. And if you need us, we'll be there. We'll answer that call for service.
Yes, just an update on some of the highways. Some of our highway routes have been closed. HPD is enforcing closures on Farrington Highway at Waimea Street, at Fort Weaver Road at North Road, no Mackay-bound, ocean-bound traffic, and Fort Weaver Road at Papipi Road, no Mackay